reach into the sky. No reason why. Maximum effort on each try. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Atrioc broadcast here on April 12th, 2025. The denim is back. The boys are back. My God, we're shaking things up. Devo Tan kicks it off with the prime. Thank you very much for the 13 months. How the hell are abrasive salt? Thank you for the 27. Spongy hands. Thank you for the 28. And I still ain't get my thanks. I'm thanking you right now. You sound like fucking Vance in the Oval Office. Have you even said thank you once? Yes, I said thank you. I said thank you. You're thanked. Okay. C King, think of the 20 months. Where's my thank? Okay, everyone, let's not demand thanks every time. Sometimes, you know, the real kind act would be to do it without the expectation of thanks. Wouldn't that be like the most noble thing for a chatter to do of all? Where it's sort of like this unthanked gift, if you will. Lion Wings X, think of the 12 months. Can I redeem my first time chat? You are 900 messages, so no, you cannot. You have passed the expiration date. Sticky Towel, thank you for the prime. Saw you play Blueprints. Did you beat it? I did not beat it. I'll be playing probably like an hour at the end of the night, most nights, till I beat it. Shirtless, probably. But I've been playing it. It's very fun. I'll have to squeeze it in because it's not really like a main thing. It's not. I don't really think I'm going to get a video out of it. It's just fun. I just really like it. So I'll just be playing it here and there. But I played it again and I enjoyed it last night. This is a Trump voice. I don't even know if the thing's working right now, but I'll do it for you. Brandon, I can't do a Trump voice. Listen up. The people, tremendous people of chat, are demanding a House episode today. It's the best season. You're going to send the toy jobs back to China so fast, you'll be crying for your glizzy plushies. Nobody wants that. Make it in America, Brandon, or you're fired from winning and be left a panicking. Wow. That is a powerful message from Donald Trump. Do you have any more denim shirts? Are you what are you worried about? Why are you're not even pocket watching. You're shirt pocket watching. Why the fuck do you care about the number of denim shirts that I have? It doesn't affect your life in any way. The answer is I do. Probably have 2 or 3 more if I had to answer it. Zelda Boy basically thank you for the 21 months. Watching this instead of studying for exams because I don't get smarter from studying. I get smarter from watching Get Smarter Saturdays. That's goddamn right. That is goddamn right. I think today is going to be a good Get Smarter Saturday. I have a couple videos that I've already prepared that I wanted to watch, but I saved for chat. And I think a lot of people are going to see their IQs quintuple today, which if you're starting from 0 won't mean anything. But if you're at 1 or 2, that's going to be a huge increase. It's going to be massive. You're going to have neurons firing like crazy. Watch the history of denim. You know, if that could be a good video. I wouldn't even rule that out. I'm going to get my appy juice. Please do. Watching this instead of applying for jobs, gotta keep my bread up with passive income. I mean, these days, can't you just apply for jobs automatically? Can't you just go to like LinkedIn Easy Apply and it just sends 400,000 jobs and you've done... like, where's the human element? What finance industry can I work in to maximize wealth inequality? I've never heard, I mean, plenty of people in finance do this. I've just never heard someone say it so openly. Your goal is to maximize wealth inequality. That's an interesting way to phrase it, because it's not just that you want to get rich. It's that you personally want society to be more unequal, even if it doesn't help you. He wants to put his finger on the scale. You know, it's so interesting you bring that up, because I have just started a brand new book that I might be reading for a book club for the Lemonade Stand. We haven't decided yet. But it is called The Great Leveler. It's called Twilight. It's called Twilight. It's about this girl who doesn't really like moving to this new town, but then a vampire changes everything. It's called The Great Leveler, and the Great Leveler in this case is like war, famine, plague. And it's about the history of inequality and all the different things that caused it to go down. It's not, I wouldn't say it's uplifting. Well, I'm only in the beginning. We'll see. Maybe there's some like, the quote on the back. This is the best book on the history of income inequality. And the central message is that the most significant reductions in inequality come through violence or destruction. Have a nice day. But I'm sure it has a happy ending. Let's not judge a book by its literal cover, right? That's what you guys are doing. You are judging a book by its literal cover, all right? I haven't read it all yet, but it is funny you bring that up. Yo, first time catching the stream. King Jingle, a certified first-time chatter. Bro, you have to know this. This is a live, crackling, interactive discussion. Okay? These streams are like Socrates in the round. It's the greatest philosophers and thinkers of our age tossing ideas back and forth to sort of, through the electric call and response, create a unifying theory of the universe. And so as a first-time chatter, I ask you one thing. You can set the topic. Anything you want to talk about. Because it's your first time, we'll set the topic. Anything. It's all open. It's all available. See, when you say it, Math the Zone, I know it's not true. Because I can check. I can see that you chatted on April 10th, for example. And that was when you said you're the first-time chatter. And you said, I wonder if Trump has ever played a video game. That's what you said that days ago. So you just can't, it doesn't apply today. Unfortunately. As unfortunate. King Jingle. Did you set a topic? What did you want to talk about? It's the open floor, open season. You left. You left. I think he left. You always do this, Big A. You scare him off. The pressure, the bright lights get to them. Fuck. Have you considered talking about this? This is some Guardian article. It's an opinion piece about Trump. That doesn't seem that interesting. I have my own opinions. I'm at a party. Goodbye, Atrioc. Pavate. If you feel the need at a party to open up my stream on your phone and tell me you're at a party, goodbye, you'll be back. You'll be back. I think you'll be back. Shall my 4-year anniversary be left in the dust? We shall see. Drop 627. Thank you for the 4-year. Much appreciated. Wait a minute. I looked at your chat history. You've been saying it's your 4-year anniversary for like weeks. For weeks. For fucking weeks, dude. I'm looking at your chat history. You keep saying it. On 4-7, Big A missing my 4-year sub. It's okay. I forgive. 4-8, it's my 4 years and it went unseen. 4-12, shall my 4-year anniversary be left in the dust? Wait, what the fuck? What the fuck? What are we talking about here? Dude, on 3-20, back in fucking March, you said, just want to soft launch my 4-year anniversary with you. I'm not kidding. This goes so far back. On 4-1, you said, hey, Big A, looking forward to our 4-year anniversary in the next week. Hope to see you at the big party. What are we talking about here? I'm sorry. Okay, well, happy 4 years. I hate to miss it. It's clearly a big deal. Did you guys go to the party, the 4-year anniversary party? Thoughts on the Canadian election? I think at this point it is looking pretty heavily favored towards Carney, which is a bit of a shocker. I would say that I would say that's pretty. It seems likely. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But that's what it seems like. I think, yeah. I mean, the thing that I did not foresee in January. Well, I should probably wait before the election happens, and then I can give a recap. But the thing I didn't foresee was like how much Trump would continue saying that Canada should be the 51st state directly and repeatedly to incite a huge wave of Canadian nationalism that dramatically changed the polls. I think, well, that and the tariff. I mean, literally, it was just Trump. Trump swayed the Canadian election dramatically. And it seems like a similar thing might be happening in Australia, but again, it's tougher to tell. I'll watch that as it gets closer. Not much of a shocker. Hey, Big A, I'm from Switzerland. The strengthening franc is great for me personally, as I can now import stuff cheaper. Sounds like you're an NPC in a game about currency debasement. It's like you're just saying the fact of how it works. That's correct. That is right. Yeah, that is cool. You are paid in Swiss francs, and as they appreciate in value, your imports are cheaper. Good for you. I'm excited. Yeah, it's like a tip on the loading menu. I read the person who wrote the Black Mirror episode you talked about, conceived the episode as a light comedic episode that's centered around something he's scriptures to remember alive. I think it would have been better as that. I mean, the thing is, I don't want to go too into Black Mirror again. I've watched the other episodes and I like them. I watched them with Ari. But you know, it's a biting commentary on Netflix itself, which is cool. But as a story, I found it a little despair porn is what it felt like. It was almost to the point of parody. You know, that if they had run over a cute dog while driving, it would have been totally on brand for that episode and have no point to the plot. And, you know, like once you saw the first beat, you know how the entire rest of the story was going to go. Hello, Atrioc. Please see my job request on my 4-month sub message. Are you asking me for a job? Talk to Adish and Quack, dude. The horror stories they'll tell you. You don't want to work for me. Do you know I haven't paid a single employee in 4 years? So how do I keep getting away with it? How do I keep getting away? I have not paid one employee one time. I mean, I give them exposure. If that's what you're worried to be paid in. I looked at your chat history. You don't even have a job request. Actually, you do. I'm sorry. On January 18th, 2023, you said, "Thanks for the feedback, Lamau. Let me rephrase. I will skin your dog alive if you don't immediately hire me." It's like 2 years ago. Yeah, I'm not feeling it. I'm sorry. It's a tough job market out there. But I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling it. I'm gonna have to pass on this one. I'm sorry. We're going in a different direction. Oh, you guys want banned? You think it's weird and creepy? Put it in a Black Mirror episode and suddenly it's high art. Put that guy in a Black Mirror episode and say you can't pay for his fucking kid's tuition or something, and now suddenly it's, whoa, it's brilliant. Oh my, it's actual cinema. This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Any gaming night? I might play Blueprints a little bit tonight, but I want to watch some videos. There's a bunch of great YouTube videos that I think will be fun to watch with chat. Claps, 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 claps. And we'll learn and we'll get smarter as we are wont to do. And it'll be fun. I need to find I think someone made me a new Get Smarter Saturday website. Well, we'll do it in a second. I still want to talk to chat for a little bit more. Get the vibe, you know? Don't post YouTube videos yet. Let's talk. I'm just fucking vibing, dude. I like talking to chat, seeing what's up, who's cooking, what's going on. Atrioc, I need to make a confession. I used to be a hater, but I've been loving your content lately. Sorry for ever doubting you. Let's check your history. Okay. You only started watching me in February of this year. You were a hater in February and you liked me by fucking March or by April? All right, quick. Life happens fast, dude. Life happens fast. That's growth. Loop, they have 36 months. Stormy QJ, they have 25. Hey, Big Ed, my crowdfunded board game company is not liking these tariffs. Don't worry, I got the plans for my American factory since these tariffs are not going to last. Are going to last. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I assume, I don't know if you're joking or not, but I do want to bring up the tweet I made today because there's been a big update in the world of tariffs. So as you guys know, just you know, a little timeline here, right? Just a little timeline. First, we had no tariffs, right? And then we had massive tariffs on the entire world. Okay. World. Uh-huh. And then the market reacted appropriately. Total chaos and panic. And so Trump blinked and he said, well, not the whole world. Mostly China, but 10% on the world. Okay? And then things didn't get better. Things didn't get better. I mean, they briefly got better. They started getting worse again. And then he said, we're waiting on a call from Xi Jinping, and Xi Jinping didn't call. And they started panicking. And then all the businesses started calling Trump, including Apple. Tim Cook had like 14 calls with the White House, basically saying, hey, this is going to fuck us over. You have to change it. And then so today, we got a massive tariff on China still, except for minus computers, microchips, and phones. Oh, interesting. I wonder if those happen to be the single most exported things from China. Like number 1 and number 2, by far, most exported things from China. So now we have a massive tariff on China that doesn't apply to any of the big businesses that import from China, laptops and computers. So you know what the number 3 thing is imported from China after computers, phones, is it's toys / puzzles. That's number 3. So we aren't protecting our smartphone industry or computer industry. It's a little bit odd. I wasn't sure what the point of these were. I thought when I listened to Howard Lutnick just a few days ago, he told me,
great American workers. You know,
you
we are going to replace
on other
the
networks,
armies of millions of people. Well, remember, the army of millions and millions of human beings screwing in little screws to make iPhones. That kind of thing is going to come to America. It's going to be automated, and great Americans, the trade craft of America, is going to fix them, is going to work on them. They're going to be mechanics. There's going to be HVAC specialists. There's going to be electricians. The trade craft of America are high school educated Americans, the core to our workforce.
So I thought the iPhone was coming to America. So I started studying how to build iPhone. I was ChatGPTing it, dude. I don't know how to work the little screwdriver, but I wanted to learn because I thought that the job was coming here. And then not but a few days later, suddenly, out of the blue, we have an exemption for computers and phones. So I guess those industries are fine to stay in China, those high-tech ones, but we will get to keep trying to claw back the cheap toy industry. And you know what's fucking crazy? What's fucking awesome is that these tariffs only apply to the finished good. So, if you are an American computer company that imports parts from China and then builds the laptop, well, that's fucking expensive. You can't get the parts. But if you buy the full laptop from China, that's no tariff at all. So all we've done is subsidize China's laptop industry. In a way, this tariff is literally destroying American competition to make Chinese complete computers and phones better. Dude, I cannot overstate the level of incompetence. I was talking with Adish about this. I just want to say this. I'm kind of going a little bit mask off because there's nothing else to say about the way these tariffs have been handled. It's complete top to bottom incompetence, no 5D chess. It's like the Roman Emperor Nero level cell phone. I was talking to Adish and I said, I honestly thought this year I would have to have a more balanced clips channel or something. You know what I'm saying? I thought I was gonna have to like have some clips that are like, oh, that's a good point. And then some that are like, there's nothing. I've been giving nothing to work with. Nothing. I cannot find a thing. It's horrendous. I mean, this is deep, lasting structural damage to the country I live in, economically. Every single thing gets like randomly said, thrown out. They have a reason that doesn't really make sense, but then they don't even stick to the reason and it walked back. And these exemptions, you know, again, I want you to understand again what's going on here is like in a world where, how do I just delete and then fill? In a world where, you know, there are 0 tariffs or 400% tariffs, but everything is exempt, there's no difference, right? Theoretically. But there's actually one major difference. The difference is that everybody has to call and beg and have favors and tricks to the leader to get on the exemption list. So it's just a more corrupt world. All it is like the big insider companies like Apple, who have connections and money, can call and get on the exemption list. So they're still working. But any small business that doesn't have that is fucked. And so trade is still happening with China. Jobs aren't coming back. But now there's like this weird middleman through the government that have extra power on. And two things happen with this deal that are also disgusting. One is that a bunch of people, let me see if I get that. I want to show you the proof, just so you know. Let me make sure I got this. I want you to see it, so just give me 1 second. There it is. Okay. No, wait. Yeah, we have a ton of insider call buying on Apple right before they get fucking exempted. And this happened before the last tariff announcement. So, like, not only is this creating this huge uncertainty premium that makes all U.S. assets less valuable, it makes every single stock and our debt and everything less valuable because everybody has to price in a level of uncertainty because they don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We are also seeing just mass corruption of, like, every time one of these moves gets announced, somebody's getting rich off of it with insider knowledge. So it's just frustrating. It's just frustrating. Yeah, there's a better one. So it's problematic is what I would say. You know, we're having insider trading and we're having corruption, and also tariffs don't make sense. Everything they say they're for keeps getting walked back. Howard Lutnick literally is making an ass of himself saying we're going to bring iPhone jobs, and then the iPhone's the one thing that's exempt. But the parts aren't, so you can't even make your own here. But anyway, I guess this will bring back, you know, cheap toy making jobs. I mean, at the rate we're going, bro, we're going to be making cheap shirts for China. We're going to be making cheap shirts for China. China will rise up the value chain. They'll make all the complete tech products, and we can open our sweatshops here to make shirts for them. It'll be awesome. It'll be awesome. That'll be great. At the same time, you know, I'm not even I told you sewing this, but like we are seeing a repricing of the world reserve currency away from the USD into essentially right now gold. We don't know what else it'll be. It's an uncertain period, but it's just countries are not holding the dollar. The dollar keeps fucking devaluing, and they're putting it into the one stable tradable asset. I don't know, man. They're just everything is. What I'm trying to say is like it's backfiring, even more than you'd imagine. It's backfiring not just on the tariffs. It's backfiring to the point where even if you remove the tariffs, it's almost too late. It's not like. It's not just the tariffs now. It is now this uncertainty premium that is applied. It's everyone getting out because of risk. It is a risk of incompetence factor that is that is so baked into the assets. And just speaking of incompetence, I talked about this before, but man, did I get a fucking example today. Oh man, this is actually a great tweet. This is Nassim Taleb. He wrote Black Swan. US made electronics pay duties on imported material parts, but imports of the full electronics that contain the same material and parts are exempt. This is a China subsidy, moving US industry from high value added into socks and lettuce. Dude. It's wild. But no, this is what I want to show you. Oh, wait, let me show you again. This guy right here. Same thing. And what I'm saying is small businesses like this guy.
All right, I hate asking for help. I'm not asking for any handouts, but I'm a small business owner that is directly being affected by the 104% tariff that has been put on China. I import alloy wheels for cars, and I do somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to 15 containers a year, which is a small business in regards to this industry. At 104%, I am absolutely going to implode and will not last 6 months. So with that said, I'm asking, is there anybody out there that has connections with manufacturing facilities, specifically alloy wheels, either in the United States or outside in these lesser tariffed countries like Mexico, Indonesia, Thailand, India? I need to find another source. I've emailed a lot of these companies and cannot get a response. And I just don't know if it's because I'm a small business or what exactly it is. So if anybody's out there that can help or shed some light, maybe provide some information that would be helpful, I would really greatly appreciate it, because if not, it's just a small business here that's going to go under, and I'll be back to digging ditches again, which I'm not scared to do, but it's a little harder to do with a wife, 2 kids, and at 45 years old. So let me know if you guys have any suggestions. It's very much appreciated. Thank you.
I feel terrible for that guy. It's so incompetent, dude. It's so incompetent. It's so frustrating to see such stupid decisions applied. Like the idea that that guy who's buying cheap wheels made in China and then creating the value-added larger structure and then selling that is bad for America, and that we need to tariff that is insane. Yeah, I mean, listen, I think there's many a times I get, how do I phrase this? It's easy to get like Schadenfreude or, get a feeling of, haha, you had it coming, for leopards at your own face stuff. But I generally think, I don't even care if you have empathy or not. I just think some of you are like, you think you're heroic, like you're fighting the enemy. And I feel like you're like Donald Trump's greatest recruiters. I feel like you're like, you work for him. I feel like you do your best to make sure no one can ever cross the line or ever, I seriously think you guys are like his biggest help, his biggest asset in the world when you say stuff like that. But I'm not going to get too into it. Has the limited Patreon started yet? No, not yet. Anyway, what I wanted to say was, so many people are being hurt by this. Not just that guy. Again, I was talking with a guy who owns a small business in LA who imports like light bulbs and fixtures and sockets and then builds these beautiful light pieces, like these custom light pieces for like hotels and big business lobbies and things like that, they're fucked. I mean, if the tariffs don't change, they're fucked. And they don't have an insider call the way Tim Cook does to call and get an exemption, which we got for, again, the whole point of this, if there was any point at all, would be to bring the high value, high tech industries to America. Chips, computers, high end stuff. Instead, we are exempting those things because that'll hurt the market. Not only is it dumb, but it's also cowardly. He's also shown that he has no backbone or spine for his own negotiating position and is actually going to be a panicking. He actually backs down the second there's any pressure. So it's an L on both fronts. Is tech from other countries still tariffed? Every other country is tariffed at 10%. All their tariffs have been paused outside of China. Though I think a lot of the tariffs haven't even been collected yet. Is it still 10% for the Penguins? All countries. So yes, the Penguins. Anyway, did I have anything else I want to say on this? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think as I've seen the timeline, it's just Trump, tariff China, China retaliates, Trump, bigger tariff on China, China retaliates. Trump says, I want Xi Jinping to call me. China does nothing, doesn't call him. Trump says, I'm ready to make a deal. China doesn't do anything. Then, masterful gambit, Trump rolls back the tariffs on China's two largest traded items. Like, what? I don't even have a dumb leader. I have a leader with no spine. I got a leader that can't even, who says, like, don't worry, we'll get through this. We have to do a little pain for, he doesn't even believe it. It's just making my country significantly weaker in a very short period of time. Rip or dip tomorrow? Nobody knows the answer to that question, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a rally, especially among tech stocks, with everything being exempt. But the longer term trend is negative because of the uncertainty. Like, there's going to be a bunch of little daily headline scatters, but the trend is negative because people are just repricing all American assets for political risk. This is what they do for, like, emerging market countries. What's happening when your yields are right, whenever your cost of borrowing is rising and your currency is plummeting? That only happens in, like, emerging markets going through, like, deep political instability, where you can't, where business people cannot predictably rely on what's going to happen. There's too much risk of just political uncertainty of things being applied by the government that can. So it's bad, dude. It's bad. Hi, Maisie. Hey, shorty. Thoughts on the bond market? Yeah, it's bad. It keeps going up. The price to borrow for the U.S. keeps going up. People are fleeing to, again, Swiss bonds. I think Chinese bonds were getting cheaper. I mean, we're getting lower yield. Did Linkus tell you my heart is leaning too far to the left? What do you mean? Like your actual heart? Like you're too woke for Texas, he said? Or do you mean you have like cetus invertus and your heart is not in the right spot? I went to the doctor for chest pain and he said it's leaning farther to the left than it should be. Was the doctor calling you a lib? Was the doctor like... I said, yes, sir, I voted for Joe Biden. Maybe your doctor's a radical centrist and really wants the heart to be exactly in the right spot. I got made fun of the nurse because I was like, I don't care. I don't know. It's normal, right? It's such a funny thing to say. The doctor tells you your heart's in the wrong spot and you're like... I want to call you and Linkus. I want to figure out, I mean, you're fine, right? So I can't tell if this is, you're making fun of it, but I can't tell if you're all right. Are you fine? That's scary. Hard stuff is scary. LFA, I'm fine? Okay. All right. Well, sincerely wishing you well. I'm seeing a cardiologist this week. All right, cool. Based. If I tell you I'm dying, will you actually come visit if I'm terminal? It's just, there's so many Elon clips to farm. It's just like, yes, of course I'll be there unless Elon Musk like slips on banana peel or something, and then I have to make a clip on that. No, of course, me and Ari would come out instantly, and then we would divide up your. Some of it go to Linkus, and some of your stuff goes to us. Don't even joke about it, Maisie. You better be fine. Have you ever? What else? Oh yeah. So I got soft tracked. Adish, if you're editing this, cut out the part about Maisie's heart. I was in the middle of a rant, dude. I was in the middle of a rant, and I wanted to give my rant here. And I guess this has become a theme though of what I've been saying, which is like, I sincerely expected to have to argue more with ideas on news and in clips and have to like break down why I didn't think certain things would work. But what I'm finding more and more is that I'm just arguing with total deranged incompetence. Like there's no strategy. There's no plan. There's no anything. And it's very frustrating. And to the example I really want to give you, I talked about this previously where I showed you China's Secretary of Education. But I want to show you someone else. Okay? I want to show you, like, it's not just China, dude. Like, just for example, Korea is currently if you do like school rankings by country, Korea's #1 in the world. Now, there's problems with some of these nations where they perform incredibly well on tests, but there's a lot of pressure, there's a higher suicide rate, etc. But this guy is a serious man. He's got 3 degrees in economics, bachelor's and master's from the best university in Korea, and a doctorate from Cornell. And then I would mention that our current Secretary of Education is Linda McMahon of the WWE. Okay? She was in WrestleMania 7. Okay? And the reason I bring that up again is because she just had a speech where she talked about how technology is changing lives for students.
I heard, I think it was a letter or a report that I heard this morning. I wish I could remember the source, but that there is a school system that's going to start making sure that first graders or even pre-Ks have A1 teaching, every year starting, that far down in the grades. And that's a wonderful thing. Kids are sponges.
One more time. Just make sure you guys understand. She's saying she's heard a report that kids in first grade, kindergarten will have A1 teaching. And she'll explain.
Pre-Ks have A1 teaching, every year starting, that far down in the grades. And that's a wonderful thing. Kids are
I'm assuming she means A1 top-notch teaching. I'm assuming she means like top tier. Let's see if she clarifies.
sponges. They just absorb everything. And so wasn't all that long ago that we're going to have internet in our schools. Woo. Now, okay, let's see A1 and how. And
She means AI. She means AI. This is our Secretary of Education in this country. She means fucking AI. This is the biggest issue in education right now. We have ChatGPT cheating rampant through all of grade school, high school, and college. And our Secretary of Education doesn't even know it's called AI. She thinks it's A1. It's just beyond cooked. I cannot debate this on a principal merit. This is incompetence at the highest, deepest level. Now, I love steak sauce as much as the next guy. But much like a well-done steak, we are fucking cooked. We are in a country where 60% of people aren't reading at a 6th grade level. And instead of addressing that, we have this fucking woman talking about A1.
And how can that be helpful? How can it be helpful in one-on-one instruction? How can it be helpful in absorbing, more information for those fast learners? It can be more one-on-one directed. And those are the kinds of things and innovations that I want to see continue to develop.
This woman's face. She's holding in the laugh. Oh, motherfucking A1, dude. My jaw dropped when I saw that clip. I couldn't believe that was real. That's... It's intentional. And dude, it's so funny. People that say this are almost as bad. You just have the same level of conspiracy theory brain rot. No, it's not. It's just Occam's razor. You can actually just follow that. They just go off the fucking news from the last day. There is no plan. That is the scariest part, actually. There is no plan. It is just incompetence at there's no 400D chess. There is no 400D chess. Every single rationale given for almost all these decisions, but especially the tariffs, gets thrown away the second they switch to a new strategy. It gets pivoted. First, it was for an external revenue service, but now there's no money coming in. It was going to get rid of the income tax. It was going to bring iPhone jobs to America, but that's got exempted. It was going to rebalance trade with every other country, but now it's only on China. Now it's all part of a plan to contain China. By the way, not to, again, I know we forget about things more than 2 years old, but there was a plan in 2014 to create a free trade network with the USA and every major Asian trading economy. Japan, South Korea, I think India was, who else was in it? Anyway, and it was called the Trans-Pacific Partnership, the fucking TPP. It was every country but China. We were going to create a network that boxed out China and left USA as one of the dominant trading partners in Asia. The first thing Trump did in 2016 is get us out of TPP. And now we are fucking 8 years later and $1 short and trying to, in the aggregate, recreate TPP. But only after pissing off every one of these countries. We're in a worse negotiating position. We pissed off all these countries, and now we're trying to tariff them 10%, but also get them to agree to create some sort of network that boxes in China. It's just stupid, man. And it's frustrating me because I can't say this 10 times. I say it once, and I've said it. What else do I want to say? I'm getting annoyed. I just want to play Blueprints now. I don't. It's just frustrating. There's anything else I want to talk about? That was the main thing I wanted to talk about. I was just getting frustrated with. Dude, I saw this post. This is so good. This is from a few days ago. Fucking zero hedge. China has 3 options. Concede defeat to whatever terms Trump demands. Devalue the yuan by 20 to 40%. Unleash the biggest fiscal stimulus in history, talking 2-3 trillion, which will push its debt off the chart. Option 4, not listed. Wait 3 days. Option 4, wait 3 days, 72 hours. And without a call, it'll back down. That's. Was there anything else that I wanted to say? I don't know. And then the fact that, it's just, Tim Cook donates $1 million to the inauguration. He's there in person. And then every small business that imports shit from China is fucked, but he gets to make the phone call. And and now Apple's exempt. Yup, trap. I don't blame Tim Cook at all. I don't blame Tim Cook. Tim Cook is the supply chain master. He knew that he had to spend $1 million because he knew this was going to happen. It's not Tim Cook's fault for adapting his business to the fucking insane banana republic environment we're in. I'm letting Tim cook. It's just frustrating that the guy we watched earlier, he can't make that call for his small business. The guy I talked to in person 2 days ago, who runs the lighting business, he can't make that call. But Tim Cook can. Aiden will make the calls. I mean, hopefully Aiden can make the call for Mogul merch. God willing, Aiden can get Trump on the horn and get an exemption for hoodies that have Slime's face on it. Okay? But Ludwig will need to wear a MAGA hat on stream. that's the environment we're in, where everybody has to go and fucking ask for favors or give favors to the leadership. It's all, there's this big fucking government middleman now. Yeah, it's cronyism. It's cronyism. And at the same time, this new headline comes out, someone is bought ahead of time. So someone has insider knowledge. And that's, I barely even bring that up because that's like shockingly so low on the list of problems. There's like a couple people making a few million off insider trading, but it's just annoying. It's just annoying. It's just annoying that every one of these headlines has someone front running it, and you can see it. You can see them buying calls right before the headline goes out. And I guess last thing, I'm kind of just summing up my I think I'm crashing out a bit. Honestly, I think I'm crashing out a bit. I'm just crashing out a bit. And one more thing is that because I've already said this, right? The problem is I don't like to repeat myself too much. And I feel like if someone's watched the clips or whatever, they know my stance on these things. But I think the exemption today really, I think it really made it clear that not only is no plan, I kind of knew that, but that there's no spine on the lack of plan, which is not just clear to me. It is clear to every world leader now that anything he acts tough on, they know that if there's a financial or marketplace backlash, he will not be able to hold his ground. And so that adds risk on both sides of the equation. It adds a lot of uncertainty and risk into a market that I have already, for months, felt was recessionary, that we've already had spending slowdowns. We've already had fewer and fewer good job opportunities, more and more like gig work, more and more. I've been saying this for a while, but specifically since the Slowly All at Once video. And so to go into that powder keg, I already thought it would be like, this is unstable. But these type of actions make it so it can go dramatically wrong. And it can go so much, things can break. Like we can have real deep structural cracks in the financial system with this level of uncertainty. It's just a big repricing that has to go on. At the same time, dude, one of the things that's very near and dear to me that I talk about so much is the unsustainability of our debt. And it is again frustrating to have an administration that talked so much about balancing it do the exact opposite. It is only getting worse. It is only getting worse. And this is not the environment we want to be in when we're going to have to print to bail out a broken system. Again, the Federal Reserve just said 2 days ago that they're ready and willing to do all means necessary to backstop the system or whatever. They were trying to calm markets, but it just made markets more scared. Because if the Federal Reserve is saying that means we're almost at an oh shit moment. We're almost at a moment where we have to print money to buy our own debt. And when you're doing that, when you're in like that late Japan phase, and we're already at 120% debt to GDP running, 2.6 trillion run rate deficits, It's not. It's just not possible. It's going to destroy the currency. I mean, it's just going to. The dollar will start getting dramatically worse quickly, and it's already getting worse, dude. What's the DXY at today? Yeah, I mean, look, the dollar's the weakest it's been in 3 years. Ugh. Anyway, I need to have more to say. I need to have more to say than this sucks. Right now, it's also new that I'm just telling you it sucks. It sucks. It sucks for all. If you're American, it sucks. If you're not American, it probably sucks for you. If you live in the West, it probably sucks for you. Unless you are a Chinese national, this actually does suck for you. It's actually gonna cause economic pain that's gonna ripple outside of America. Maybe if you're paid in Swiss franc, you're kind of like, this is cool. But the problems are real, and it sucks. And I'm hoping for a different path. And I'm hoping that I'm doing my best to really sound the alarm on this specifically. You know, I really think this is the one thing that is very convenient for everyone to ignore and will lead to pain, like serious pain. And I want to try and look for a candidate or a solution who really takes this seriously, not just says it, but really takes it seriously. Because this is, if you look at history, this always ends in disaster. Always. Real pain for regular people. And that's where I'm at. So I'll be keeping my eye open. I really am. I'm watching and trying to find who I feel really comfortable throwing my support behind, because I'm hoping for someone who you know, I definitely want someone with strong moral character as a given, but I also want someone who understands this and can give it the deep focus it deserves. Like, this is not a joke. Yeah, I think it's probably Squeaks or Clint Stevens, right? Maybe a Squeaks, Clint Stevens. Clint would give one executive order every 2 years. He's a real Reaganite, dude. He's a real small government. It's crazy that Trump pretends to be like Reagan. It is. It actually is, because Trump is. Well, it's funny because Reagan's not even like Reagan. If you listen to some of Reagan's, like, Reagan had a great speech on tariffs. The problem is that Reagan was a guy who's like, he's like, you know, government needs to get out of the way. We need a smaller government. And in fact, all he did was cut the parts of government people like and explode the parts of government people don't like. He blew out the deficit. He made the military spending way more, and he cut the parts where it was like mental health and, you know, he wasn't even small government. Like, you know what I'm saying? He didn't even follow his own principles. the government drastically grew under Reagan, and then and the deficit blew out as big as anyone had ever seen. He began us on this path of unsustainable deficits. It's just funny that he, like some of his speeches, I can be like, you know what? You might be spitting, old man, but he didn't do that. And it would be so crazy because if he had kept the clearly working things like, United States had a pretty good mental health care system, or at least, well-funded. I think it ranked well in the world. He defunds that. He defunds air traffic controller unions. He defunds. We had that stuff, and he did it to blow out the deficits and fucking Iran-Contra. It's like, it's just not. There's no actual action to match the words. There's so many. And then Trump doesn't even say the things Reagan would say. Trump says, we actually, Reagan would say things that are like pro-immigration, pro-free trade. We don't need tariffs. We need to be more competitive. He would say, immigrants can become Americans and they're a great part of the national fabric. And like, that's a good speech. Trump won't even say that stuff. He won't even say Reagan stuff. Bush pretended to be small government. Yeah. Nobody's been small government. But at least the American left doesn't lie about it. At least they say they don't want small government. They keep actually. Never mind. One person I'll say that was like good at it was Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton balanced the budget, and we had an economic boom. Ran a surplus. Eisenhower's the best Republican president. Actually, there's a great argument to be made that if it wasn't for Eisenhower, FDR would not be so incredible. Because every time politics goes back and forth in America, a lot of things that get passed in one administration get undone in the next one. But what Eisenhower did is he took the massive debts that FDR ran and he found a way to get them down while also keeping the great programs he passed, like Social Security, workers' rights, 40-hour week. Like the combination of Eisenhower and FDR actually are like the core of America's greatness for 40 years after. Like those two presidents, everyone's been coasting on them. I swear to God. I truly think those two presidents have been coasted on by everyone else. FDR threw Eisenhower a lob. Yeah, in a way, you could say that. Eisenhower was Jackson Hayes, and FDR was Luka. Okay, they dunked it. It was a lob. It was incredible. If that makes sense to you. Biden gave Trump an okay economy. He's doing this. So I disagree slightly in that I don't think the economy was okay. But what I will say is, I'm still, there's many reasons I'm critical of Joe Biden, but every day under this economic policy, I give more and more credit to Joe Biden for being steady, for just being steady. Okay. It was stable. It was reliable. There's something to be said. You don't realize the importance of stability till it's gone. Like there was progress in some areas being made. I think, he was not going to change the ever expanding debt cycle that was slowly but surely hollowing out our middle class. He wasn't doing that. He was, if anything, accelerating it. But he was stable and steady and reliable as an ally, as a partner for business. Like it's no great. I thought it was no great feat until I saw this. But I also, listen, I want to give credit. I don't want to be too harsh to old Joey B. He's too old. I don't want to rip on him. Okay. I get ripped on for being old all the time. But I also can't let him off the hook in that I think history will judge Joe Biden actually pretty harshly. Mostly because his real singular issue, his real one thing that he promised over and over from 2020's election to 2024 was that he was going to be the guy to stop Donald Trump. And in fact, he actually created the conditions for it. He actually is hugely responsible. In the way that it would have been better had he not won it all. Literally, Trump staying in power in 2020 would have been better because Trump would have inherited inflation. He would have remained shackled by process and system, which he got rid of this time around. So if anything, I think Joe Biden did America a lot of damage. And that's not even counting the fact that I find a lot of his economic decisions actually to be mid to poor. Very short. I'm like, again, this gets really into the weeds, but like, Janet Yellen, as Treasury Secretary, like, again, this is really in the weeds. I'm gonna bore people, but like, she refinanced all of our U.S. debt on short-term bills, which is like, it's hard to explain this, but like, I'll try. I'll just try because I think it's interesting. And again, I don't know why I'm using, today is my crash out of Trump day, but I want you to understand why I say the things I do about previous administrations. Like the more you study, the more that they were causing serious problems. They were at some very short-termism thinking. How do I, okay, look. So if you're the government, right, you need to borrow, let's say $1 trillion. Oh, you can't see it. Fuck me. My camera's moved. Oh, everyone on the clip channel is going to be mad because my camera's in the wrong spot. Sorry. Okay, imagine you need to borrow $1 trillion. Now, I don't know what you guys would use $1 trillion for. Probably Funko Pops or Pokemon cards, depending on your age. What would you use $1 trillion for? I don't know. CSGO knives? It's so funny. Whenever I give someone, especially a Zoomer, a hypothetical where they'd have a lot of money, the first thing they do with it in the hypothetical is use it to make more money. They're like, if I tell you can go back in time, like I would go back in time and invest in Bitcoin. It's like, bro, I'm already making you infinitely wealthy. But you have $1 trillion. You're always thinking about, it's crazy. Just what would you buy with it? Anyway, if you're a U.S. government, you need to borrow $1 trillion. The ideal situation would be when rates are really low, like in 21 and 22, when rates were like 0 to 2%. Really low borrowing. That's really low interest payments. The idea would be to get as long term as possible, like a 30-year. Dude, even some countries, even countries as unstable as Argentina, have managed to get deals where they get 100-year debt. They just load up on debt that they don't have to pay back for 100 years. And they term it out at very low interest rates. Again, in a way, in the real world, you might see this. Like if your parents have a house and they got it at low rates. So they're paying very low interest rates for 30 years in their mortgage. But someone who bought a house nowadays is paying like 6 to 8%. And they're stuck in, do you understand? So you don't want to be stuck in these higher rates. So anyway, as rates started to rise to closer to like 4 or 5 in the election year, you can get a slight discount. You can do like 3, let's say it's 3.5. You can get a slight discount, but only if you get it for a short term, like 6 months to a year. 6 months to 1 year. So you're paying a little bit less interest, but in 1 year you have to pay all the money back and start over again because you're still in debt. Again, I think I'm getting a little bit too in the weeds. I just want you to say, like, the main thing was she had the opportunity to pay a tiny bit more interest, but lock us in at relatively low rates for 30 years to 100 years. But instead, she picked the short-term option because that helped in an election year to get interest rates down for a very short term, but it would make us have to refinance right now. Okay? So Janet Yellen did this. She refinanced all of our debt at like the shortest term rates, which makes it like a problem that is going to be dumped immediately on the next administration, which she thought would be Biden again, but they would win. But then Biden didn't win. And so now this huge problem is being left with a huge idiot. And their plan to get the rates down again was to crash the stock market. But that didn't work. So we crashed our stock market and our borrowing costs are up at like 5% now. And they're still rising. So, like, again, not to let Janet, I'm not to put all the blame on Janet Yellen here. It's only one part of the picture. But I think she was extremely politically motivated for a Treasury Secretary and made decisions that were for election benefit and not for the country's benefit. And that's causing problems later. And all these little decisions add up. Again, you could trade. I mean, I could go back forever. We can go back to, like, again, I'm not a gold standard guy. It could be whatever you want. But the gold standard made sure that we couldn't run unsustainable deficits. Because if you are America and this is your balanced budget and then you start to overspend, then all of this money, people can go cash it in for gold, take it out of Fort Knox. So, and the reason we had to get off the gold standard is because somebody wanted to get us into war in Vietnam. So when fucking JFK dies, he doesn't want to go to Vietnam. He dies. All of a sudden, LBJ wants to go to Vietnam. Okay? Then we can't afford it. So we're spending all this money and everyone's like, oh, they're in deep debt. We're going to cash in the money for gold, which leads to us getting rid of the gold standard, which leads to deficits being allowed to be blown out, which happens under Reagan. Okay? Everything layers on each other. We've been getting worse and worse over time. LeBron James was involved. Anyway, I'm getting too off the rails here. It's important to me. It's like my life's work, honestly, to find a way to make it understandable for people. It's the thing I think is the most important because I realize that no party will ever talk about it. Or they'll only talk about it when they're out of power. Nobody will ever talk about it. Nobody will ever acknowledge the pain that this stuff has on middle-class people. This is what hollows them out. This is what destroys them. The ability to essentially silently steal from them by printing money is deeply frustrating. It causes more and more unrest and more populism and more. Have you seen Gary Stevenson? I have. I've been. Okay, here's what I'll tell you. I'll be honest about this. People have brought up Gary Stevenson before, and usually I just like kind of ignore it because I don't want to be a drama frog, or I'll say like, I don't know, he's not for me. Okay. However, I saw a clip from him. I hope I can find it. That I loved. I loved it. And the reason I would say that, by the way, is because I read his book, the Trading Game. I thought it was cool. And then I looked it up and I read an article on the FT interviewing all his former coworkers where they said he exaggerated a lot. He essentially made up a lot of his story. Okay? I'm just telling you my Gary Stevenson arc. I read his book. I was interested. I read the article of his coworkers. They made up a lot of his story. So I was like, interested. However, whatever happened in his time as the greatest trader on Wall Street, which I don't think is true, what he's saying now is unrelated to that, and it's just about the world economy. And he had a clip that I hope I can find that I saw. I had the off chance of happening to run into. I hope I can find it because it would be it would kind of cut this whole thing short if I can't find it. No, I'm not going to be able to find it. Well, I'll tell you what he says. I'll just tell you what he says. 'Cause I remember it distinctly. He's on like Piers Morgan or something. Someone finds this to be great. He's on Piers Morgan, and Piers Morgan is like, you talk about getting rid of inequality. Can you tell me one socialist country that has worked in the past 100 years? And he says, he's like, I'm not talking about socialism. I'm talking about United States, 1955, UK, 1956. Okay? I'm talking about the tax rates we had on wealthy people in these countries while they were capitalists. Like, and I've said this many, many times, and I felt very seen. And he did a very good job explaining it. And I liked it. I am trying to make this idea less scary to people because it has worked in this country in the time we had the greatest and largest middle class. Is this it? Maybe. Let's see.
I was a trader for a long time.
I don't think this is it. It didn't start like that. Maybe it's this.
I worked hard to drag my family out of poverty, and I paid 50, 60% a year tax. At the same time, Duke of Westminster inherits £10 billion, more than 3,000 times what I made, pays nothing.
This is not it. I can't find it. I mean, it was probably a short or something. Anyway, it was good. The point is, it was good. I already said what's in it. But this one may be it. I'll try one more.
If you know your history, can you point to a period in UK history, for example, where massively punishing rich people by massively taxing them has actually benefited the country?
Listen,
Because I can't really.
My dad was born in 57.
This is not it.
He worked for the post office,
This is...
Royal Mail, 35 years. Never once earned more than the average wage in the country. He was able to buy a house, support a family. My parents are retired now. They own their own property. They're financially secure. That's not possible now. He lived in an era where the top rate of tax was much, much, much higher. The 50s, the 60s, the 70s in the UK, in the US, the top rate of tax on large estates was significantly higher. And in that time period, it's not a coincidence, ordinary people could afford to buy houses. They could afford to, listen, this is not normal, okay? Read your history, right? You read Charles Dickens? In this country we're talking right now, 150 years ago, ordinary men and women lived in desperate poverty, okay? That's gonna happen again.
If you know your history, can you point to a period?
Saw the clip, but it's the same idea. Just the idea that like they're real. I mean, I'm reading all these books again about inequality, and it's like, I've said this before, but like in all systems, in all countries, historically inequality rises, except for this brief period of 30 years, this 30 years in these developed countries post-World War II, where like we had high tax rates, high union rates. And it was like massive progress. It was massive progress, massive raises in standard of living, massive growth. And so it's just, we should, step one, try that again. Step one, try that. Hey, babe.
Oh, hello.
How are you doing? Nice sweater.
Why, yeah. 'Cause it's
Thank you.
cold in here.
It is cold. Yeah, because I have to keep it cold.
You're not doing anything.
No,
right
but
now.
it's hot in this room. I get hot. That's why I have to keep it cold.
What are you doing?
What?
Like, what's the stream?
Just yapping. You want to yap?
There's not even like a video or anything.
No, there's not a video. I'm just yapping. What do you? I don't have to
But
need
when
a
I watched it
thing.
here, I think it was quiet.
What? No, I heard you coming in, so I was. Yeah, that's a cool Enron sweater.
That is cool.
It is cool.
So, what are you doing?
Well, I'm just yapping right now.
So, you're
I'm
not
talking
going to watch
about.
like a Get Smarter
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it get
Because
smarter.
I have a video for you.
You have a video for me?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
Is this okay to go to?
Okay, yeah, click it. No, they're not gonna want to watch
Yeah,
this.
Yeah, it's so cool like this one. You don't think that's cool? Okay, or the trains one, but I saw that one already.
All right, we'll watch the beginning of it. We'll watch one type of bridge.
Like, you don't think that's cool?
So they're all they can't even see it. They're spamming. We will love it. We will love it.
Let's see what they.
They can't even see it, and they're like they're loving
We
it.
don't need like any fake. Just be honest.
I'm gonna be
if you
genuine.
wanna see this.
The Earth is pretty cool and all, but many of its most magnificent features make it tough for us to get around. When the topography is too wet, steep, treacherous, or prone to disaster,
Like, you can even watch it at higher speed, like if you have to. You know.
Sorry, it's blowing out the sound.
Oh, sorry.
sometimes the only way forward is up. Our roadways and
Okay, like,
walkways
that's
and
a good start
railways
right
break
there.
free from the
That's a cool
surface
bridge.
using bridges. A lot of the infrastructure we rely on day to day isn't necessarily picturesque.
Love it.
It's not that we
What's the average
can't
length
build
of a smart
exquisite
video?
electrical transmission lines or stunning sanitary sewers. It's just that we rarely want to bear the cost.
Okay,
But
so
bridges
yeah,
are
I'm
different.
enjoying the bridge video. I'm
To an
enjoying it.
enthusiast of
Thanks,
constructed
babe.
works, many are downright breathtaking. There are so many ways to cross a gap, all kindred in function but contrary in form. And the typical way that engineers classify and name them is in how each design manages the incredible forces involved. Like everything in
I'm gonna
engineering,
eat while we watch this.
terminology and categories vary. As Alfred Korzybski said, the map is not the territory. But trying to list them all is at least a chance to learn some new words and see some cool bridges. And honestly, I can hardly think of anything more worthwhile than that. I'm Grady, and this is Practical Structural Crossings is the beam bridge. Just a horizontal member across two supports. That member can take a variety of forms, including a rolled steel beam, sometimes called a stringer, or a larger steel member fabricated from plates, often called a plate girder. Most modern bridges built as overpasses for grade separation between traffic are beam bridges that use concrete girders. And instead of a group of individual beams, many
There will be a test after this. Fucking study up. Okay?
bridges use box girders, which are essentially closed structural tubes that use material more efficiently, but can be more complicated to construct. Beam bridges usually can't span great distances because the girders required would be too large.
Okay, at the end of this video, you have to tell me what your favorite type of bridge is. Right now, all we know is beam, so your answer should only be beam.
Certain distance, the beams become so heavy they can hardly support their own weight, let alone the roadway and traffic on top. One way around the challenge of a structural member's self-weight is to use a truss instead of a girder. A truss is an assembly of smaller elements that creates a rigid and
Liz
lightweight
Truss,
structure.
don't like her.
Unlike a beam, the members of a truss don't typically experience bending forces. The connections usually aren't actual hinges that permit free rotation, but they are close enough, so all the load is axial along their length in compression or tension. That simplifies the design process because it's easier to predict the forces within each structural member. The weight reduction allows trusses to span greater distances than solid beams, and there are a wide variety of arrangements, many with the
I think the camelback truss bridge is the GOAT bridge design. I'll say it. Or it's like El Clasico. You know what I'm saying? The camelback truss is like, it's just fire. You just know you're bridge maxing. Like if I'm driving on a bridge, I want it to look like that. I want it to be like ramping up. Or maybe it can also be the how, I guess. But I want it to ramp up and then be flat. Or the Pennsylvania. The Pennsylvania is actually kind of... What is the difference between Pennsylvania and the Camelback?
Their own specific names. In general, a through truss puts the deck on the bottom level, and a deck truss puts it on top, hiding the structural members below the road. A particularly photogenic type of truss is a lenticular truss bridge, named because they resemble lenses, which themselves are named because they resemble lentils. A Bailey bridge is a kind of temporary truss bridge that's designed to be portable and easy to assemble. They were designed during World War II, but Bailey bridges are still used today as temporary crossings when a bridge fails or gets closed for construction. Most covered bridges are timber truss bridges. Since wood is more susceptible to damage from exposure to the elements, the roof and siding are placed to keep the structural elements trustworthy. A trestle bridge is superficially similar to a truss, a framework of smaller members. Trestle bridges don't have long spans, but rather a continuous series of short spans with frequent supports, which are individually called trestles. But sometimes the whole bridge is just called a trestle, so like many other...
This is the GOAT bridge if you're like in the Old West and there's a train coming and you have to like run away, but you don't want to fall off the side. I mean, that's fucking cinema. Okay?
Other instances of structural terminology, it can get a little confusing. The next bridge type uses a structural feature that's been a favorite of builders for millennia, the arch. Instead of beams loaded perpendicularly or trusses that experience both compressive and tensile forces.
This is the GOAT bridge if you're like a troll and you want to hide somewhere and then like attack people at night or like when they try to cross. This is the GOAT bridge for being a troll.
Arch bridges use a curved element to transfer the bridge's weight to supports using compression forces alone. Many of the oldest bridges used arches because it was the only way to span a gap with the materials available at the time, stone and mortar. Even now, with the convenience of modern steel and concrete, arches are a popular choice for bridges. They make efficient use of materials but can be challenging to construct because the arch can't provide its support until it's complete. Temporary supports are often required during construction until the arch is connected at its apex from both sides.
Jeez.
In stone arches, the topmost stone is key to keeping the whole thing standing, and of course, it's called the keystone. When the arch is below the roadway, we call it a deck arch bridge.
Cool.
Vertical supports transfer the load of the deck onto the arch. The area between the deck and arch has a great name, the spandrel. Open spandrel bridges use columns to transfer loads, and closed spandrel bridges use
Holy shit, that's a nice spandrel. That is a fucking sick-ass open spandrel bridge. I'm a big fan of open spandrel because it gives you more room, you know? And it looks more aesthetic. If this is all filled in, that's...
continuous walls. If part of the arch extends above the roadway with the deck suspended below, it's called a through arch bridge. A moon bridge is a kind of exaggerated arch bridge, usually...
Goofy. I'm sorry, that's European shit. We don't want fucking moon bridges here. Fucking moon brained if you think that's cool. Goofy, you gotta walk all the way up it? No, this is Japan? This is weeb shit. This is weeb shit then, I'm sorry. This is just not, it's goofy.
Reserved for pedestrians over narrow canals where there's not enough room for long approaches. They're steep, so sometimes you have to use steps or ladders to get to the top and back down. One
Good
result
idea.
of compressing an arch is that it creates horizontal forces called thrusts. Arch bridges usually need strong abutments at either side to push against that can withstand...
It's China? We're losing a trade war to moon bridges? We have a leader that can't outthink moon bridges? It's over, dude. Every single good they're shipping has to go up and down this huge fucking bridge?
over narrow canal steps or ladders to get to the top and back down. One result of compressing an arch is that it creates horizontal forces called thrusts. Arch bridges usually need strong abutments at either side to push against that can withstand the extra...
Get ready to walk over a moon bridge, buddy. Pretty soon we're gonna have fucking moon bridges to our factory jobs making fucking t-shirts that say China #1 on them. At the rate we're fucking going.
Horizontal loads. Alternatively, a tied arch bridge uses a cord to connect both sides of the arch like a bowstring, so it can resist the thrust forces. That means a tied arch bridge is structurally more of a truss than an arch, and that provides a lot of opportunities.
I hate this. I hate this. If you're gonna do an arch on the bridge, it has to do the whole thing. It's ugly. You can't have it. This is stupid. I don't care if it works. Pick one. You have to commit, dude. By the way, where's the border here? What, I get into an accident on the fucking thing and I'm driving off the side? Stupid.
For creativity. For just one example, a network arch bridge uses the tied arch design plus crisscross suspension cables to support the deck. To tell an arch from a tied arch by eye, it's usually enough to look at the supports. If the end of each arch sits atop a spindly pier or some other structure that seems insubstantial against horizontal forces, you could probably bet that they're tied together and it's not a true arch bridge. Similarly, a rigid frame bridge integrates the superstructure and substructure, in other words, the deck, supports, and everything else, into a single unit. They don't have to be arched, but many are. Another way to increase the span of a beam bridge is to move the supports so that sections of the deck balance on their center instead of being supported at each end. A cantilever bridge uses beams or trusses that project horizontally, balancing most.
I'm going to say it. I feel like cantilever bridges are doing too much. It's try hard. It feels over-engineered. Do you know what I'm saying? It feels like the guy had a friend who worked at a steel factory and wanted to drum the price. He wanted to overspend. I just don't feel like it's like efficient.
Most of the structure's weight above the supports rather than in the center of the span.
Like, every time I'm on a cantilever bridge, I'm thinking, can I leave her? Her being the bridge, okay? I'm trying to get the fuck off because it's just not a fun time. It's too ugly to look at.
Yeah. This is such an effective technique that the Forth Bridge, crossing the Firth of Forth in Scotland, took away the title of the longest span in the world from the Brooklyn Bridge in 1890 and held the record for decades. This famous photograph demonstrates the principle of that bridge perfectly. The two central piers bear the compression loads from the bridge, and the outermost supports are anchors to provide the balancing force for each arm. This way, you can suspend a load in the middle. The longest bridges take advantage of steel's ability to withstand incredible tension forces using cable supports. Cable-stayed bridges support the deck from above through cables attached to tall towers or spars. The cables, also called stays, form a fan pattern, giving this type of bridge its unique appearance.
That's a fire bridge.
Depending on the span, cable-stayed bridges can have one central tower or more. Their simplicity allows for a wide variety of configurations, giving rise to some...
This is the GOAT bridge if you are Godzilla. And you're walking through a river and you want to like hear a snapping sound as you like mess the bridge up. It's the GOAT bridge for that moment.
Dramatic and often asymmetric shapes. For shorter spans, you can combine the benefits of a cable-stayed structure with girders to get an extra-dosed bridge. Imagine a concrete girder bridge that uses internal tendons to keep the concrete in compression. Then just pull those tendons out of the girder and attach them to a short tower. Rather than holding the deck up vertically like a cable-stayed bridge, they're acting more horizontally to hold the girders in compression, giving them the stiffness needed to support the deck. It's a relatively new idea compared to most of the other designs I've listed, but there are quite a few cool examples of extra-dose bridges across the globe.
So I'm no engineer, but basically what they're saying is that they have like Captain America holding the helicopter, but they've created a physical version of that inside the pillar, and it keeps... Okay.
Where a cable-stayed bridge attaches the deck directly to each tower, a suspension bridge uses cables or chains to dangle the deck below. In a simple suspension...
Okay, wait. This is like a GOAT bridge right here. I mean, look at this fucking bridge. This bridge is cinema. God, when you cross this bridge into a fucking thriving metropolis, you know you're in a center of commerce. They don't make bridges like this in backwaters.
Bridge uses cables or chains to dangle the deck below. In a simple suspension bridge, the cables follow the curve of the deck. This is your classic rope bridge. They're not very stiff or strong, so simple suspension bridges are usually only for pedestrians. A stressed ribbon bridge takes the
fuck is
concept a
this?
step further by integrating the cables into the
I'm
deck.
stressed.
The cables pull the deck
Looking
into
at it.
compression, providing stiffness and stability so it doesn't sway and bounce.
This is a fucking theme park ride. This is like It's a Small World or something. This is dips for the kids. This is not a serious place of business.
This design is also primarily used for smaller pedestrian bridges because it can't span long distances and the deck sags in the middle. Then you have the suspended deck bridge, the design we most associate with the category with the longest spans in the world. Massive main cables or chains dangle the road deck below with vertical hangers. Suspension bridges are iconic structures because of their enormous spans and slender, graceful appearance. Towers on either side prop up
That's
the main
such a
cables
fucking bridge, dude. Oh, that's just gorgeous. That's human ingenuity at its finest. That is when he went across a whole fucking lot of water. What a great bridge, dude. Yeah, that's a bridge Magneto could go to town on.
slender, graceful appearance. Towers on either side prop up the main cables like broomsticks in a blanket fort. Most of the bridge's weight is transferred into the foundation through these towers. The rest is transferred into the bridge's abutments through immense anchorages, keeping the cables from pulling out of the ground. Alternatively, self-anchored suspension bridges connect the main cables to the deck on either side, compressing it to resist the tension forces. Because they're so slender and lightweight, most suspension bridges require stiffening with girders or trusses along the deck to reduce movement from wind.
Oh,
and
there's some
traffic
stiffening
loads.
going on
These
already.
bridges
When you see a
are
bridge this
expensive
fucking
to
hot.
build and maintain, so they're really only used when no other structure will suffice. But you can hardly look at a suspended deck bridge without being
Yeah, that's what I'm
impressed.
saying.
Bridges have to support the vehicles and people that cross over the deck, but they often have to accommodate boats and ships passing underneath as well. If it's not feasible to build a bridge and its approaches high enough, another option is just to have it get out of the way when a ship needs to pass. Movable.
Is this the UK? I'm calling this lazy awe. I'm calling this lazy awe. Build it a little higher, UK. Come on, we gotta lift and lower this every fucking 10 minutes for a boat when you could just build it higher? Nah, you're not getting a pass from me. You're not getting a pass from me.
Another option is just to have it get out of the way when a ship needs to pass. Movable bridges come in all shapes and sizes. A lot of people call them drawbridges after their medieval brethren over castle moats. A bascule bridge is hinged so the deck can rotate upward. A swing bridge rotates horizontally so a ship can pass
That's
on either
crazy.
side. A vertical lift bridge raises the
Oh,
entire
come
deck
on.
upward, keeping it horizontal like a table. A transport
Come
bridge
on.
just has a
What
small
are we
length of
doing
deck
here?
that's shuttled back and forth across
What are
the
we
river.
doing here?
That's just a few, and in fact, every movable bridge is unique. and
I'm sorry.
customized
Wait,
for a-
this is... What is this? You can't just fucking make a bridge here and then... This is a people mover. That can't be efficient, bro. It's a one-cart train that goes back. It's a gondola. No, that's just too much effort. Hey, you know what's a bridge? If you have a catapult on one side and you fling everybody over. That's called a catapult bridge. What are you talking about? That's not... Come on. We're getting goofy,
That's just a few, and in fact, every movable bridge is unique and customized for a specific location, so there are some truly interesting structures if you keep an eye out.
What the
On
hell?
the other hand, sometimes there's no need for ship passage or a lot of space below, and in that case, you can just float the bridge right.
Okay, hear me out. you make the bridge as low to the ground as possible, and then you build a water ramp, and the ships float over. A huge fucking ramp right here. The ship goes, and they blare the horn. They get fucking fat air. A tunnel? No, I'm not. What the fuck I'm not saying a tunnel, am I? I'm saying a ramp. I'm saying a fucking ramp. The boat should be... I should be able to look up and see the bottom of the boat flying over me.
Right on the water.
One man... No, you guys are thinking... Oh, you guys are thinking like this is underwater and the boat sails over. No. That's a tunnel. What I'm talking about is you build a ramp out of the water, you know, right here, okay? And then the boat hits the ramp at high speeds, sails over, X Games style, and they have to sound the horn in the air, and they let kaboosh.
Or a lot of space below, and in that case, you can just float the bridge right on the water. Floating bridges use buoyant supports, eliminating the need for a foundation. These are used in military applications, but there are permanent examples too. Many use hollow concrete structures as pontoons, with pumps inside to make sure they don't fill up with water and sink. And actually, a lot of bridges take advantage of buoyancy in their design, even if it's not the main source of support. A design like this presents a lot of interesting engineering challenges, so there aren't too many of them. Similarly, the pedestrian bridge at Fort de Rovera in the Netherlands, probably pronounced that wrong, has its deck below the water, giving it the nickname of the Moses Bridge. If space or funding is really tight, one option to span a small stream is a low water crossing. Unlike bridges built above the typical flood level, low water crossings are designed to be submerged when water levels rise.
Okay, why?
They're most common in areas prone to flash floods, where runoff in streams rises and falls quickly. Ideally, a crossing would be inaccessible only a few times per year during heavy rainstorms. However, low water crossings have some disadvantages. For one, they can block the passage of fish, just like a dam. And then there's safety. A significant proportion of flood-related fatalities occur when someone tries to drive a car or truck through water overtopping a roadway. Water's heavy. It takes only a small but swift flow to push a vehicle down into a river or creek, which means at least some of the resources saved by avoiding the cost of a higher bridge are often spent to erect barricades during storms.
It's like a bridge, you know, bridge is mankind's attempt to dominate water. If a bridge is not good when water is heavy, then it's a bridge for fools. Okay? Then we've given up.
Automatic flood warning systems and run advertisement campaigns encouraging motorists never to drive through water overtopping a roadway. You may have heard the term viaduct before. It's not so much a specific
Harry Potter ass bridge, bro. Type of bridge you're on the way to Hogwarts. Holy. That is a cinematic bridge.
Type of bridge, but really about the length. Bridges that span a wide valley need multiple intermediate supports. So a viaduct is really just a long bridge with multiple spans that are mostly above land. There's really not a lot of agreement on what is one and what isn't. Some are singular and
is that a real bridge?
Structures, but
damn, that's a cool bridge. Wait,
one and what isn't? Some
that's a fucking cool bridge. Where is this bridge? This is in France? Viva la France! That's a beautiful bridge. Oh, this is at the bottom. I didn't even see. It's in France. You're right. Put a fucking nuclear power plant right here and I'm in heaven, dude. This is great. This is the best part of France. Look at this beautiful little village.
Are singular and impressive structures.
What a gorgeous
but many
bridge.
modern cities have viaducts that are, although equally amazing from an engineering standpoint, a little less beautiful. So you're more likely to hear them called elevated expressways. And that gets to the heart of a topic
now
like
this is beauty. This is fucking beauty. Mwah! Magnifique. I'm sorry, France. I'm sorry, but like, come on. This? I thought I liked it, but now I look at it again, it's kind of yuck. I look at this, gorgeous. The peak of human ingenuity. I look around, I don't see a single gas station. I don't see a single McDonald's. I don't see a single fucking parking lot. I don't see, I see so few lanes. I look over here. Oh my God. Yes. Yes.
Hear them called.
Dude, imagine being stuck right here for an hour 45 in the middle of the day. Sun beating down on your car, just fucking living in the fucking moment. Yes, dude.
Elevated expressways. And that gets to the heart of a topic like this. Without listing every bridge, there's no true way to list every type of bridge. There's too much nuance, creativity, and mixing and matching designs. The Phyllis J. Tilley Bridge in Fort Worth, Texas combines an arch and stress ribbons. The Third Millennium Bridge in Spain uses a concrete tied arch with suspension cables holding up the deck, which is stiffened with box girders. The Yavuz Sultan Selim Bridge in Turkey combines a cable stayed and suspension design. In some parts of India and Indonesia, living tree roots are used as simple suspension bridges over rivers. There are bridges for pipelines, bridges for water, bridges for animals, and I could go on. But that's part of the joy of paying attention.
Oh, yeah, the animal bridges are kind of hype.
Bridges for...
Is that the boat ramp?
for rivers. There are bridges for pipelines, bridges...
This is not really the boat ramp that I wanted. You know what? If you're going to do it like this, make it glass bottom. Okay? So when you're driving under, you can look up and see the fucking boat. Like, that'd be sick as fuck. That'd be sick as fuck, dude.
For water, bridges for...
And then the animal bridges are cool. I don't know if you guys have seen these, but it stops all the animals running into the way and dying. They can cross over. It's fucking awesome. It's like a lot of animals live because of these. And they look cool. So it's like in The Sims when you place an item that has a beauty value and everyone's lives are improved. There's no mathematical reason for it, but our beauty score goes up.
Animals, and I could go on. But that's part of the joy of paying attention to bridges. Once you...
It's a spawn camp for predators. Dude, the wolves just setting up camp right here. Fat as fuck. Just locking down the choke point.
And I could go on. But that's part of the joy of paying attention to bridges. Once you understand the basics, you can start to puzzle out the more interesting details. Eventually, you'll see the Akashi Kaikyo Bridge on a calendar in your accountant's office and let him know it's a twin-hinged, 3-span continuous, stiffened truss girder suspension bridge with a double tower system. Or maybe that's just me. We care a lot about bridges.
Giving your accountant the ick. I think this is an ad. Ari, thank you for the video. Kick off Get Smarter Saturdays. That was fucking incredible. I actually really enjoyed that. W's to my wife. My wife. That's the type of shit she's always watching. I swear to God. I'll go out in the living room and she's watching. Actually, did anybody here watch Dead Meat? They're like a horror movie review channel and they do like... She loves Kill Count. She loves Dead Meat. Loves it. So it's like Dead Meat or it's bridge stuff or it's like cosplay stuff. Not like engineering stuff she'll watch. Chelsea watches you. I heard that and I reached out and okay, low key, I'm trying to see if Dead Meat will say hi to Ari because they're doing a live show, like a live award show, and she's such a big fucking fan of Dead Meat. And I know that Chelsea watches Big A. No leaks, but I'm trying to see if maybe they'll like come say hi or something. It would be so fucking awesome. It'd be the greatest. Biggest husband move ever. I'm the GOAT. She's not watching. The only way she'll see this is if Adish puts it in a clip. Don't do that. Don't do that, Adish. All right. Well, that was a great first video of Get Smarter Saturday. Perhaps you have a video of your own you'd like to watch. If so, put it in chat. There's only 3 rules. Number 1, it can't be too long. Really trying to go for under 20 minutes, ideally. That's about when I think chat and even I get antsy. Maybe a little more if it's something, but too long, can't be too boring. But at the end of it, we have to have learned something. We have to come out of the video having learned something. And you have videos for me. I think I have a video that I wanted to watch, but let's wait a second. You guys are dropping a lot of great videos. I'm taking a look at them. I guess we can just show it on screen, right? Let's see. How I grew a massive neck at home updated. Every single shy guy. China's most unhinged president you've never heard of. If George Costanza was really an architect. The insane history of the Warrior Cat series. Isn't this just furry? Isn't this just like, is like cat romance? I don't think that's the right one for me. This is a great video. We've already watched it, but it's a great video. Tariff that destroyed the American economy in just weeks. Is that now? Who made this? 50 players with beds versus the end. I still can't believe that's a real video on my channel. That's so funny. The thumbnail is so not me. The title is so not me. What an insane fucking video that we made and uploaded. Just wild. The $18.8 billion borderline useless bridge between Hong Kong and Macau. Okay, we just watched bridges, but that seems kind of interesting and it's short.
This is where the Pearl River meets the South China Sea. To get from here, Hong Kong, to either of these places, Macau or Zhuhai, you could connect some trains or ferry for about 70 to 90 minutes at a cost of about 180 yuan, aka about 25 bucks, or, hear me out, you could save 15 minutes and 5 bucks by driving across this bridge. Assuming you hold at least 2 driver's licenses, 2 to 3 different insurance policies, and a near impossible to get crossing permits, at least. All of which begs the question, why would you ever drive across this bridge? And the bigger question, why would you build this bridge? And while both of these questions seem simple, I wouldn't and I wouldn't, they're pretty hot topics. But before we get into why, let's meet the Hong Kong-Zhuhai Macau Bridge, the $18.8 billion or 127...
I feel like they could have named it something cooler. First problem I'm thinking with is the branding. You don't name a bridge by the 2 places it already is. Everyone knows that. They know that because they're at the spot and they see the bridge. Give it a fucking bridge, dude. Give it a fucking bridge name.
Billion won project that won this week's title of Infrastructure Project So Absurd That I Think They Just Built It So I Could Make a Video. Look at this thing. 12...
The Golden Gate Bridge is the GOAT bridge name. it's iconic, dude.
Kilometers / 7.5 miles of road linking it to Hong Kong.
Imagine this was called like the Silver Dawn Bridge or something. And you're supposed to drive across it at dawn and look at the rising sun. It'd be fucking gore. You'd be so fucking proud of it.
just shy of 30 kilometers / 18.5 miles of the main bridge, and 13.4 kilometers / I'm tired of conversions, it's a bit longer than the first part, linking it to Zhuhai. Between these two artificial islands, it goes underwater tunnel mode for about 6.5 kilometers, so as to not be in the way of the Port of Guangzhou's shipping lanes or anything going on at Hong Kong International Airport, which is right over here. It's one of the longest bridges in the world, estimated to have been built with enough concrete to make 22 Chrysler buildings and enough steel to make 60 Eiffel Towers.
Okay.
Ooh la la. It cost $18.8 billion over 9 years, $1.5 billion over budget, and 2 years behind schedule. But fear not, for while a pain to build...
Damn, it must be fucking crazy to build if it was in China and behind schedule. If it ran 2 years over in China and over budget, it must have been a fucking project.
It's also a pain to use. See, as you likely know, Hong Kong and Macau are special administrative regions of China, operating under the one country, two systems policy that gives them their own governments, laws, economic policies, trade relations, and a bunch of other stuff. All of which makes a bridge between all three pretty complicated. For starters, cars in mainland China drive on the right side of the road, while cars in Hong Kong, due to it being a former British colony, drive on the left. Macau rocks it lefty style too, even though they were a Portuguese colony, and even though Portugal switched to the right side in the 1920s. But even though both these places drive on the left, the whole part of the bridge is in mainland China's territorial waters, so you have to drive it on the right. Meaning, if you're driving from Hong Kong to Macau or Zhuhai, I assume to visit the world's largest aquarium, you have to go through these special viaducts that seamlessly switch you over from being on the left to being on the right. You also have to clear immigration twice, once on either side of the bridge, which is a pain, but not as big of a pain as what's coming for you if your car breaks down. If you break down,
do they still do this? There's no way, right? Holy shit. Hong Kong still drives on the left side of the road. That's crazy.
Down here, the Hong Kong police will get you towed somewhere safe, but you need to be ready to get yourself towed all the way out of there. Same deal in the tunnel, but instead of the police pulling you out, it'll be the tunnel's operating company. Same on the bridge, but there, the bridge authority tows you to the eastern artificial island before you're on your own. Unfortunately, if you break down in any of these places, there's a good chance your car will need to be towed across the borders between Hong Kong, Macau, and mainland China, so the government recommends you travel with contact info for tow companies willing to deal with all of that before you begin to cross the bridge. That is, assuming you get the opportunity to begin to cross the bridge. Because, like I said before, doing it in your own car takes a mountain of paperwork. Let's start with the car insurance. You need policies in Hong Kong, Macau, and mainland China, even if you're only going from Hong Kong to Macau, since while you're on the bridge, whoopsie, you're in China. Along with being triple insured, you need a valid driver's license in both Hong Kong and mainland China. If you have all that, you might qualify for a long-term permit to drive your car from Hong Kong to Zhuhai as you wish. There aren't many available, but hey, someone has to get them. And the rest of the qualifications are super chill and simple. You just need to have paid over 100,000 yuan, like 15,000 bucks, in taxes to mainland China, or you can work at a quote, recognized high-tech enterprise, or you can have donated over 5 million yuan to some type of mainland charity, or be a member of either the National People's Congress or the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, which is, let me check, a total of just under 300 people in Hong Kong.
Okay,
so, yes,
easy.
As long as you have 3 insurance policies, 2 licenses, one of that menu of political or financial connections to mainland China, and a partridge in a pear tree, you just might get a long-term permit, depending on your residency status, of course. Now, there are a bunch of different types of permits and some low daily quota for cars allowed to cross without one, but to give you a broad sense of how few people get to cross, when they created a program in 2023 to exempt northbound cars from Hong Kong from paying customs duties, 17,000 people.
When I do my trip to China, the first thing I'm doing is driving across this bridge with no fucking license. Okay, I'm streaming it. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be badass. All right, I'm going to have 4 American flags on my car, and it's going to go well. It's going to go awesome.
Applied for the permit, and only 1,600 got it. That's a lower acceptance rate than Berkeley. Of course, there are other ways across the bridge, namely a bunch of bus lines. But
yeah, and if I get caught, I'll tell them I'm Squeaks. I'll tell them, my name is Squeaks. Okay, take it up with the embassy.
They drop you 30 minutes away from the city center in Hong Kong and 20 minutes from the iconic Lisboa Casino in Macau.
Last name
Why
Bald.
not just take the ferry? That, as it turns out, is what most people seem to do. In 2019, just over 1.5 million vehicles crossed the bridge for an average of less than 4,200 a day. For comparison, in 2022, the bridge from Denmark to Sweden saw over 18,000 vehicles per day. For more comparison, the ferry route between Hong Kong and Macau serves over 15,000 people a day, a number that, according to this publication, indicates that the route is, quote, languishing. So either the bridge is languishing, or there is some serious carpooling going on. All of which brings us back to the question, why build this? Just because you have a beef with pink dolphins and want to stick a bridge in their house? Well, for one reason, the mainland Chinese government has long envisioned that this whole place would become one big economic hub called the Greater Bay Area.
Oh my God.
San Francisco.
They're trying to mog San Francisco? The Greater Bay Area? They come out with a Chinese Steph Curry that can drain even more threes. Fuck!
United by infrastructure projects. It also does reduce travel times by road between some locations. For example, getting from Hong Kong's airport to Zhuhai went from being a nearly 5-hour drive to a 45-minute one. And of course, big projects can create their own demand. Sort of a field of dreams effect where you build it and the people are like, huh, I work in Hong Kong, but now I can keep my job and live closer to the aquarium. Not to mention that
Steph
traffic is
Curry.
always really light, which is so nice. Now, all that's what Hong Kong Macau Zhuhai bridge stands would say, but what about the haters? Well, they might note that demand for travel between these two cities is already served by existing land, air, and sea links, or that using a bridge is so inconvenient it's not worth it for the people it's supposed to serve, or that it was a huge oversight to not include rail on this bridge if they wanted more people to use it. Haters might also note that this, along with the high-speed
Damn, rail on
link
the
that
bridge
opened
would be
to Hong
sick.
Kong and mainland China around the same time, is a physical encroachment from the Chinese government, blurring the border between mainland China and the special administrative regions. After all, the high-speed rail link brought mainland security forces to Hong Kong since they're stationed at the, well, station. All told, this thing is an impressive feat of engineering, sure, but above that, freakishly expensive and nearly useless to the people it's ostensibly for. And I don't know, I feel like if you're gonna do something impressive, expensive, and useless, you may as well just build those 60 Eiffel Towers. And while other people are blowing money on 60 Eiffel Towers, how about you wisely spend yours with this video sponsor,
NordVPN. You guys know it. You made your decision on that. Interesting video. We learned a lot about bridges today. What else we got? What else do we got? What else do we got? What else do we got? Penetration cum blast? Why is that in your title? Isn't that, or your fucking thumbnail? Isn't that demonetized? That seems. Disney, the world's worst tech company. Only 56 people have ever beaten this Pokemon game. How to fold it? The art of reading FT Weekend? I actually need that. Because I was just reading that this fucking morning at a cafe. And I always make a big mouth. I'm rustling. Actually, fucking the folding paper is a lost art that I don't have. And I usually take the middle part and I just throw it in the trash because it's just fucking, dude. You know they have the middle of every FT Weekender is a magazine called HTSI, and I found out relatively recently it stands for How to Spend It, and it's just ads for rich people. Isn't that fucking crazy? It just says HTSI. I mean, that's just funny. That's not for you, broke boy. I can't afford the watches in there. I'll tell you that. The largest cat to ever exist, the American lion. You don't know what a war crime actually is. It's just videos of war crimes. Why Taiwan makes all the chips that beep boop. I think we know most of this stuff. I'm trying to find something that might be the most genius bank heist ever. Looks like this guy's kind of yoinking the other guy's style, but it does look kind of cool. The most genius bank heist ever. Fern style, yeah. I'll give it a shot.
It starts with a knock at the door. Kevin McMullen, a manager at Northern Bank, answers to find two men in police uniforms standing outside. They tell him that there's been a family accident. He needs to come with them to identify a body. It's a lie. The moment he steps outside, a gun is pressed against the back of his head. His wife, Karen, is strangled by her throat.
What?
20 miles away, another family is being taken hostage. Chris Ward, a bank employee, watches helplessly as his family is held at gunpoint. The men give him a simple instruction: follow orders or they die. For the next 24 hours, Kevin and Chris will become pawns in a bigger plan than they can even imagine. They will walk into work the next morning, smile at the...
Okay, not to undercut what he's saying, but I bet they can imagine it. I bet they're probably using us to rob the bank. Probably the bank that I work at is the goal of this plan.
their coworkers and bosses and carry out the largest bank heist in UK history. By the time the vault is emptied, £26.5 million will be gone. No alarms will go off, no evidence will be found, and 2 decades later, the robbers and the money are still missing.
Sheesh.
This is the story of the Northern Bank robbery, the perfect crime. Chris Ward, an employee of the Northern Bank, one of the 4 major banks of Northern Ireland, is at his home in West Belfast watching football with his dad, mom, older brother, and his girlfriend, when a knock comes at the door.
Average British day, huh?
Kevin answered. He found a man standing on his doorstep. The man smiles and says,
"All right, Chris, I'm here to talk about Celtic."
That's the Celtic Football Club, which happened to be Chris Ward's favorite club. As an active member of the club's supporters group, Chris is used to people showing up at his door and asking about tickets or club events. To him, it's business as usual, but this time it's about to be the biggest mistake of his life. He lets the man inside, but as he does, he notices something he missed at first. 2 other figures standing just out of sight in the shadows, entering his house as well. As soon as the men set foot in the house, everything changes. The men pulled their guns and pointed it straight at Chris's family.
Chris, we're not here to talk about football, but about your job at the cash center in the basement of the Northern Bank.
Chris froze in his place.
We know who you are. We know everything about you. We're going to take you away for 24 hours, and your family is going to be held for that time in this house. The first thing you're going to do is simple. You get your work uniform, then you're gonna walk out that door and step into the car waiting outside. No talking, no looking around, just move.
Chris does as he's instructed. Outside, a car waits with its engine running.
I think I would have done something different. And I'm not calling this guy a coward. I just think I would have karate chopped the gun out of his hand, then grabbed the other guy's gun behind me and done a spin move and gone blam, 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 and headshot all 3 of the assailants. And then told my family, it's all right, I've got you. But I mean, you know, not everybody has that skill. I'm not blaming him for it, but that's probably what I would have done.
The door already open. He's told to get in and lie down in the back. Behind the wheel, a driver sits silently, one hand on the steering wheel, the other gripping a gun. Chris gets in the back of the car and the driver pulls away, disappearing into the night, leaving Chris's family at the mercy of their captors. 20 miles away across Belfast, Kevin McMullen, a manager at Northern Bank, is about to experience the same fate. He and his wife, Karen McMullen, are sitting in their home in Loughlin Island, County Down, sipping tea and watching TV when they get the knock.
That was 4 shots? The 4th shot was from my mother-in-law. Am I right, fellas? Shut her up. I'm trying to watch footy.
Kevin found 2 men wearing PSNI uniform, that's the Police Service of Northern Ireland. One of the men is holding a clipboard with Kevin and Karen's names written on it. The men notified Kevin about a family incident and that he is needed immediately to identify the body. That is, of course, a lie. Kevin, caught off guard, took a step outside. The moment he did, the police officer pulled a gun and pressed it against.
I would have simply known he was lying when I saw his all-black, soulless demon eyes and fully bald head. I'm a good judge of character, all right? When I saw the guy looking like the fucking laser eyes of Satan, the guy from Dune.
Needed immediately to identify.
I would
the
ask to
body.
see some
That
ID.
is, of course, a lie. Kevin, caught off guard, took a step outside. The moment he did, the police officer pulled a gun and pressed it against the back of his head. Inside, Karen barely has time to react before an arm wraps around her throat, forcing her to the ground. As she struggled, she saw a third masked man enter the house. The three men immediately dragged Kevin and his wife into a spare
Michael
bedroom,
Jackson?
forced them to face the wall,
Circa
while holding them
2002?
at gunpoint.
Kevin, forget your responsibilities at the Northern Bank. It's only a shower of orange bastards. None of that matters now. The only thing you need to think about is your wife.
Two of the men left the room and started cleaning everything meticulously, making sure that no fingerprints are left behind. After about an hour, the man in the room with them turns to Karen and tells her she's being moved to another house. He assures her that someone will take care of her there, another woman. But first, she needs to be blindfolded, and I mean her eyes will be taped shut.
Ugh.
Kevin watches helplessly as the men grab his blindfolded wife, lead her outside, and push her into a waiting car. Then just like that, she's gone. What Kevin doesn't know is that, for the past hour, Chris Ward has also been held hostage in the house. His hands are cable-tied behind his back, and he sits alone in the kitchen. The only light in the room comes from the open fridge. The men grab Chris and Kevin and force them into the living room.
Eye taping is actually really good for your sleep. So you think they were kind of helping them get like a better sleep regimen?
You have a very simple choice. You work with us, you cooperate with us, and your families will be fine. If you don't,
They were
they're
trying to
dead.
get like a more
It's as simple
Sigma.
as that. Now, here's how this is going to go. We're going to rob the Northern Bank, and you're going to help. We will lay down a line of instructions for you. You follow them, word for word, no mistakes. You mess up, even once, your families pay the price. And trust me, you don't want that on your conscience.
In that moment, Kevin understood the gravity of the situation. This wasn't a robbery, this was a full-blown hostage crisis. And he and Chris are about to find themselves entangled in the biggest bank robbery in UK history.
Okay.
With both of their families taken, the first phase of the plan is complete. In Northern Ireland, tiger kidnappings were nothing new. A tiger kidnapping involves two crimes in one. First, someone valuable, a person or an asset, is taken hostage. But instead of demanding money, the kidnappers force their victim to commit a second crime on their behalf. During the Troubles, tiger robberies were a common tactic used by both organized crime groups and paramilitaries. Even after peace returned to Northern Ireland, these crimes never fully disappeared. The targets could be anything: banks, businesses, or even private homes. In fact, it was so common that authorities had to come up with smarter ways to protect high-value assets, like banknotes. A few years before the robbery, Northern Bank introduced a security measure. The main vault, where all the cash resides, requires 2 keys to unlock to make sure that no one enters the vault alone. And the assigned key holders must change every week. And by coincidence, the key holders for the next morning were Chris Ward and Kevin McMullen.
Aha!
The night feels like it never ends. The two bank employees are waiting for instructions while somewhere out there in the cold, Chris and Kevin's families are being held hostage. One of the men approached and handed over 2 phones, one for Chris and one for Kevin. Each phone has a C and a K engraved on the back, C for Chris and K for Kevin. The phones only had one number stored in them. Later, when the time comes, that phone will change everything. The men order them to sit down on the couch and listen. But just before they started giving their plan, Chris out of nowhere asked for a can of beer. And surprisingly, the captors agreed to give him one. No one knows exactly why he made the request. Maybe
my man, dude. Family kidnapped, gun to your head, still need a brewski, take the edge off.
to show that he isn't hostile, that he's cooperating, maybe out of fear for his family. But there's one thing that's important to know. When it comes to talking, only one man does it. He's the one holding what Karen described as a vicious-looking knife. The others mostly communicate with each other by whistling, clicking their tongues, or...
Wait, sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry, but... If you guys know Kyle Gordon made that He made that song, Planet of the Bass. He made a new one parodying British rap from like the late 90s, early 2000s. And it's so funny because every single line is about stabbing someone in the head with a knife. And it also, anyway, I thought it was funny. I saw it on Shorts.
Jingling the change in their pockets. Most of the time, the house is silent. The only sound is the noise of the men cleaning, non-stop. The captors then begin laying out the exact instructions of the robbery, what to do, how to do it, and when, and always reminding them of what's at stake. We don't know exactly what was said in that living room, but according to trial records, the conversation took several hours. And the captors knew everything about the bank, its blueprints, its employees, and even the exact timing of the security shift changes. They knew it all. The scheme was also carefully thought out. Every detail of this thing was precise.
The plan is simple. Go to work
Oh my
and
God.
act normal.
It was Ludwig this whole fucking time. It was Ludwig. He fucking that's how he got the money for his fucking stream.
Go to the underground vault. Put £1 million in the bag that we will give you. Take the money to a bus stop. Set the bag down. Go back to the bank. Raise the alarm and leave. But most importantly, keep that phone turned on at all times.
Because you see, the captors are being careful. Not the entire scheme is going to be revealed this evening. The rest will be shared through the phone. Once Chris and Kevin are at the bank, anything can go wrong. Kevin or Chris might alert the authorities, a security officer might bust them, or something unexpected could happen. But that phone will be the key to everything. From the way that the captors spoke, Chris and Kevin knew that they aren't messing around. So without hesitation, they agreed to follow the instructions the gang had given them, word for word. With everything in place, at around 2 a.m., the men ordered Kevin and Chris to get some sleep. Tomorrow, they said, would be a big day. It's 11 a.m. Kevin is driving his car, heading to work, with Chris sitting next to him. Chris's shift starts at 11:30 a.m., with Kevin following half an hour later.
Obsessed with their phones.
On a normal day, when Chris isn't the key holder, he works as a supervisor in the machine area, sorting cash and making sure that every banknote goes where it needs to. He usually handles millions of pounds each day. But today is different. With just 4 days till Christmas, the bank is busier than ever. Today, Chris won't be handling millions, but tens of millions. Kevin and Chris enter the bank acting normal, and they went straight to Kevin's desk and sat there for a while, going over the plan and to kill time. You see, according to the instructions, the heist has to begin at exactly 5 p.m. But before that, Kevin and Chris had to call the captors 3 times, once for each checkpoint. The calls weren't just to confirm that everything was on track, they were also a reminder, a warning that if anything went wrong, their families would pay the price. At around 4:30 p.m., Kevin tells the staff that there's a problem with the balance, and Chris and he have to do a full recount. So the staff are dismissed for the evening. Now, only Chris, Kevin, and 2 security officers remain in the bank.
Oh,
They have
shit.
the whole basement to themselves. After 30 minutes, at exactly 5 p.m., they begin. They make their way down to the underground cash center vault, and using their keys, they unlock the heavy door and stepped inside. The room is packed with cash, freshly printed banknotes, worn-out bills, euros, and US dollars stacked in every direction. They went straight to a stack of green boxes filled with freshly printed banknotes. Each box was sealed with a metal security seal. The gang had given them specific instructions to swap the metal seals for white ones. Later, we'll understand why they did that. Kevin knew about a blind spot in the cash center where they could fill the bag without being recorded by any of the security cameras. Then, they started filling the bag that the gang had given them with £1 million in 50-pound and 100-pound banknotes.
They only took $1 million?
The instructions were to fill it up to the fullest. It took them 15 minutes to do so. Chris immediately slung the bag over his shoulder and walked out. No security codes, no keys, no guards, nothing. The path was clear. Chris has to make one last phone call to know which way to go. He got out of the bank and walked a few yards to a bus stop on Upper Queen Street, set the bag down, and waited. About 3 minutes later, a man arrived to pick it up. Without a word, Chris left and headed back to the bank.
Jeez.
Now, only one final step left. Raise the alarm and go home. Then hopefully everything would go back to normal. Chris would finally see his family again, and Kevin would reunite with his wife. But as Chris was heading back, his phone rang.
Uh-oh.
Good. You did exactly as you were told. So what now? Now you go back inside and take more. What?
It turns out the heist of the Northern Bank would happen in stages, and this was just stage 1.
Oh, interesting.
All of it.
Interesting.
Before we break down the next stage, we need to understand how cash is actually delivered to the bank. At the back of the bank, there's a single entrance leading to Bullion Bay Alley into Wellington Street, the only gateway where every banknote enters and leaves. The only company allowed through that entrance is Securicor, the firm responsible for transporting money in and out of the bank. The plan is to send a van into Bullion Bay to pick up green boxes filled with cash. Each box could hold up to £1 million. Now, how would they do that? Remember when Chris and Kevin swapped the security seals on the boxes back in the cash center? Well, in the banking system, a white seal on a green box doesn't mean money. It means the box is filled with waste paper. Now, the second stage is to move the repurposed boxes disguised as rubbish out through the back shutter door into the Bullion Bay, where a white van will be waiting to collect them.
I see.
But there is one major problem. Only Securicor and Delivery Services vans are allowed into the alley, driven
they have
by
one?
verified employees with official ID. When Kevin told the gangs that this was practically impossible, their response was simple.
You're the boss of the bank. You get paid the big money. Make it happen.
Chris, feeling shocked, he walked back into the bank and headed straight for the vault where the green boxes were stored. There were 24 in total, each capable of holding between £0.5 and £1 million, a staggering amount of cash to smuggle out unnoticed. Kevin and Chris got to work, loading 6 boxes into each of the 4 trolleys, basically emptying the vault. Then, one by one, they wheel the trolleys out of the vault, down the hallway, past the security control room where 27 monitors recorded everything. Before they could move the boxes outside, Kevin needed to ensure a clear exit. He walked into the control room and spoke to Billy, the security guard. He told him that a van would be arriving soon to collect the waste and that the back gate needed to be opened. Billy, suspecting nothing, agreed, but he has to come with them. With the path now clear, Kevin pushed the first...
Billy low-key bad at his job. This is weird, right? Like, they send everybody home, they shut the whole day down, they're doing a suspicious count, then he's coming in, he's saying, we gotta open the back door, we're gonna move some trash out. It's just, Billy's like, needs to pay more attention.
First trolley into Bullion Bay.
It's after 5 and he's the boss. I guess from his POV, he's like, I just want to fucking go home. This job fucking sucks. The boss wants me to fucking...
Moved a few meters from Billy and made the call to the captors.
It's done. Bring in the van.
It took 15 minutes for the van to arrive, reversing down Wellington Street until its tailgate was level with the bank's back door. The back of the van swung open and 2 men jumped out. Now Kevin, Chris, and Billy stood face to face with the men who were about to take all of the money. They began loading the boxes into the van one by one, 24 boxes in total, packed with cash, £18.5 million to be exact. The entire process took 7 minutes. When they were done...
If Billy is not sus at this point, it's crazy. Like, this is not normal part of bank business. He's out there in the back, 2 guys that don't probably look like fucking Securicor employees, and they're loading a bunch of crates into the back of a van.
One of the men called Chris and handed him a roll of black polythene. Unbelievably, the robbers weren't done. They were coming back for more. The final stage of the heist is about to begin.
Greedy.
Chris and Kevin, still in shock, rushed back into the vault. There was no time to think.
Dude, imagine Billy's the Joker, and he's behind this whole thing. And then as they drive away with the money, Billy shoots them both in the head, the co-conspirators, and keeps all the money for himself. Holy... He planned this whole thing from day one. Whenever he saw how fucking spineless his boss was, he knew he could use him to be oh my God, Billy. Pre-watched?
Only to act. They grabbed handfuls of used banknotes, stuffing them into the large black polythene bags as fast as they could. The first and second round had been freshly printed, brand new cash, But this time, it was a messy mix of used banknotes, euros, and US dollars, making a total of £5.1 million in total. They worked in silence, knowing the robbers would be back. Then 45 minutes later, Billy called Kevin to let them know that the van is here. Kevin felt his stomach drop. This time, there were no green boxes to disguise the cash, just loose bags packed with millions. Kevin told Billy to open the inner gate. If Billy so much as glanced inside the bags, the entire operation was done. Chris and Kevin loaded the bags into a rolling cage, pushing it through the hallway toward Bullion Bay, where Billy was waiting. If he checked the bags, even out of curiosity, it was over. But he didn't. And why would he? Kevin's his boss. They start.
I like they make Billy just like he's like vibing, dude.
Over. But he didn't. And why would he? Kevin's his boss. They started loading £5.1 million right into the van, right in front of the security guard. Once the last bag had been loaded into the van, one of the men looked at him and simply said,
"That's it, lads. You can go."
And just like that, it was over. Kevin and Chris were told to raise the alarm and leave as if nothing had happened, as if they hadn't just helped pull off the biggest bank robbery in UK history. Without a word, they got into Kevin's car and drove straight to his house to reunite with their families if they were even still alive. The robbery is done.
Emergency? Hello, how you doing? I wanted to tell me this time I went through an ordeal of an abduction. I actually work in the Northern Bank Cash Centre and usually to rob it. How much are we talking now? 30 minutes, I'll be there.
At 8:10 p.m., Kevin called the PSNI, letting them know that he had just helped rob the Northern Bank.
He's so casual.
But they had already known.
He's so fucking casual. Hey, bruv. Oi, bruv. You catch that fucking footy last night. Anyway, I've been robbing the bank, £30 million.
Later, a young couple had walked past Bullion Bay and noticed the white van parked outside the bank. They felt that something was wrong, something was off. Following their instincts, they decided to report it to the first uniformed person that they saw, which happened to be a traffic warden, who immediately called the police. By the time the call went through, the van was already gone, never to be seen again. The police arrived, and they were mind-blown to find that £26.5 million had vanished from the bank. The head of PSNI immediately launched a nationwide hunt for the perpetrators. In the months that followed, the investigation became one of the most frustrating in UK history. The first wave of arrests came fast. Raids against Belfast, Dublin, and Cork. The police rounded up men tied to Sinn Féin, the IRA, and other known criminals, hoping to find a trail that led back to the robbers. 3 men
random
were caught
Irish
at
people?
Houston Station in Dublin, one of them carrying nearly 100,000 euros hidden in a box of washing powder. A financial advisor in Cork had £2.3 million stashed in compost. Another man was arrested for burning sterling banknotes in his backyard. But of all the arrests, the most shocking was Kevin McMullen, the bank manager. The police suspected that someone inside the bank had to be involved. Because the operation was so sophisticated, they believed the criminals were part of the military. The hostages were forced to basically answer in a line of command. And Kevin, he was only one of 2 people to have access to the vault. For a full year, Kevin McMullen sat in a cell, accused of helping plan the biggest bank robbery in UK.
That is interesting, all right? Let's say you work at a bank and you want to rob the bank. Well, then getting your crew to pretend kidnap your family and force you to rob it, how do you prove it's not you? Wouldn't that be extra genius? Then you get to go back to your life.
UK history. The pressure had to have been unbearable. But after 12 months of questioning, searches, and investigations, the police had to admit the truth that they had.
Money trail? I would say what money trail? Wearing like a solid gold outfit with a giant diamond chain. In my fucking brand new Lamborghini. Listen, officer. They had my family. What would you have me do?
Had nothing. Not a single piece of evidence linked Kevin to the robbery, no suspicious bank transactions, no phone calls, nothing. In the end, he walked free. The police then turned to Chris Ward, the second key holder. Unlike Kevin, Chris wasn't management, he was just a bank employee. But he was in charge of the staff work rota, and the police found it suspicious that he had scheduled himself and Kevin as key holders that day. On November 29, 2005, Chris was arrested and accused of being the insider who made the heist possible. His home was searched, and even his part-time job at Casement Park, a Gaelic sports stadium, was raided by 25 Land Rovers from the police.
That's crazy.
But just like Kevin, there was no real evidence. Chris went to trial in 2008, but when the time came, the prosecution had nothing. The key argument, that he had changed the staff schedule on purpose, fell apart when the bank confirmed it had been a management decision. Chris was fully acquitted. By the end of 2005, the police had conducted 22 searches and made 13 arrests, but every lead hit a dead end.
Dang.
Most of the arrested men were either charged with money laundering or IRA connections, but no one was ever convicted for the actual robbery. The money is still missing, and the robbers have never been caught. Both families were found safe, at least physically. Chris's family had been held inside his home the entire time.
I'm sorry to say this, but this is why we need a nationwide Irish tracking service, where every person in Ireland has to wear a chip that reports directly to the UK government. I'm sorry, but it's just, they're too dangerous of a people. Like a little shamrock. Tough affair.
While Kevin's wife, Karen, was taken deep into the Drumkira forest and locked inside an abandoned cabin. There was no woman there to, quote, take care of her,
sorry,
as
not
the
a chip,
gang
a
had
crisp.
promised. Before leaving, the captors destroyed her car, erasing any evidence that could link them to the crime. The Northern Bank robbery wasn't just a crime, it was a humiliation for law enforcement. 26.5 million pounds stolen, families held hostage, 2 bank employees forced to help, and the robbers disappearing without a trace. The police had one job, find out who did it, and they failed. To this day, the case remains open, yet unsolved.
I don't know that I learned a lot from that, but it was very cool. An insanely impressive bank heist. Usually they always get caught. Like eventually. Eventually they always get caught. But this one, 20 plus years? Incredible. Let's solve it together. All right. Is anyone here Irish? Can you ask around? I think we did solve it. Wasn't it Billy? Oh, how appropriate. Let's watch this. Nero, the monster of Rome. I called Trump Nero today.
When I set out to make a video about Nero, I thought it would be a crazy biography of an absolute lunatic. But in researching, that's not exactly what I found. Nero is probably Rome's most notorious emperor. History tells us that he murdered his mother and his first wife, kicked his pregnant second wife to death, illuminated parties with human torches, and played the fiddle while Rome burned to the ground. But these same history books also say that he was absolutely beloved by the people of Rome. Nero was vehemently anti-corruption. He cut taxes, expanded slaves' rights, and outlawed capital punishment.
How about that?
So, which is it? Well, I was surprised to learn, like I think you'll be, that the story of Nero is a little more complex than just lunatic does horrific things.
Okay.
I mean, sure, I'll talk about all of those horrific things in detail, but I think by the end of this video, you'll find
He's got
yourself
piercing
questioning
eyes.
not just what you believe about Nero, but maybe what you believe about history and who gets to write it and what that means for the rest of us. First things first, though, let's talk about Nero.
I like the art style. It's fancy.
So the royal lineage of Rome is a huge, complicated spider web. We could really spend an hour or two talking about Nero's place in it all. So I'm just going to speed through this part. Nero was born as the great-great-grandson to the Emperor Augustus, so certainly not first in line to any throne, but always in the conversation from day one. Nero's mother was Agrippina.
I like being in the
and his father
conversation.
was Gennaeus, but Gennaeus died pretty young, and Agrippina, being involved with the Roman elite circles, married the Emperor Claudius, who then adopted Nero. Claudius also had another son, but it seemed like the emperor favored Nero in most ways.
I see.
Claudius's advisors cautioned him, though. They said that Nero was spoiled, aloof, and kind of showed a cruel side. Now, Claudius had just succeeded the Emperor Caligula, who was famously demented and insane. So, of course, with that in mind, Claudius's advisors worried that Nero would be another Caligula, should he ever take the throne.
You don't want to do that again.
But Nero never expressed much interest in power or taking over any thrones. On the other hand, his mother, Agrippina, was quite the opposite. Her life was marked by cunning, cutthroat power grabs. Her marriage to Claudius was probably just that. Agrippina's son becoming emperor of Rome, after all, would be the ultimate power grab.
Right.
And so Agrippina killed Claudius. She poisoned him with deadly mushrooms. Probably. Not all academic sources agree on this, but it's very much in line with her character.
Sure.
In any case, Claudius was dead, and his birth
I mean, tough to prove that, I assume, because she didn't write down in her diary, today I fucking poisoned my husband with mushrooms. But, okay.
Too young to take the throne. So at just 16 years old, Nero became the emperor of Rome.
How about that?
After taking the throne, Nero basically said, I don't want this job anyway, so I don't really care.
Dude, tough at
he
16.
Just did his own thing. At the time, artists were the lowest class in society, but Nero loved them. Nero was an artistic type. He was creative, so he started hanging out with artists in theaters and in brothels. He would even get drunk and make cameo appearances in theatrical productions. During this time, Nero held public orgies, once even getting married to another man who had participated.
Okay, he's woke.
I don't know if Nero truly identified with the lower class, but he certainly won their affection with his sociable, creative personality. And indeed, he walked the walk, performing a series of diplomatic actions that were great.
+2. Rome Alone 2. That's a +2, dude. That's a +2. I don't want to let that slide by. That is good.
The lower classes of Roman society. Nero inherited an empire that was enormously
He's mewing
in debt,
for sure.
So he overhauled the tax system. To encourage economic growth and make it easier for people to earn a living, he lowered taxes on individuals and businesses.
Okay.
Nero also implemented a series of public works projects, creating jobs and boosting the Roman economy.
Okay.
Nero made it legal for slaves to file complaints about their masters. This gave slaves a higher standing in Roman society and possibly planted the seeds for future reforms. Nero also ended a war, negotiating a peace treaty with the nearby Parthian Empire. All of this stuff made Nero's reign pretty successful.
Okay, so far so
as
good.
the common people were concerned. But the Roman elites, the Senate, they weren't impressed at all. They believed Nero was making a mockery of the throne, engaging in arts, elevating slaves. This was all despicable to those in the upper echelon of Roman society. So Nero developed a sort of inner circle of power, trusted allies. Among those, his mother was not included. It's possible, likely even, that Agrippina just wanted to rule by proxy of Nero. Her own son was probably just a piece in her little game. So when Nero froze her out of power, she was furious. She began to side with Nero's stepbrother, Britannicus. And this is basically where Nero's downfall begins.
He pissed off the wrong people.
Nero got word that his mother was plotting with Britannicus to take the throne. So Nero poisoned Britannicus, securing his own position as ruler. Not long after, Nero began to wonder...
Okay. Poison your little brother. Okay. That escalated quick.
If he really needed Agrippina around. He concluded that, in fact, he didn't. Nero had his mother board a boat that was designed to sink. The boat indeed sank, but Agrippina managed to swim to shore.
Holy shit!
When she arrived at shore, Nero's men stabbed her to death.
Holy shit. She's a tough old broad. Holy shit. Woman too angry to die. Damn, that's crazy.
It said that as the soldiers approached, she told them to stab her in the stomach where, quote, she had nurtured the monster. If this sounds too poetic to be true, stay tuned, because it might be. Nero tried to tell the Roman people that Agrippina's death was a suicide, but word quickly spread that he had murdered his mother, and the public began to turn on Nero.
Yeah, it'll do it.
Now, Nero was married to a woman named Octavia. The Roman people loved Octavia. She was charming, active in public life, and just all around adored by the Romans. But after Octavia failed to bear him children, Nero tried to strangle her. This happened a few times, actually.
Okay. Seems like got a bit of an anger issue.
Eventually, seeing that she was entirely unable to bear children, Nero divorced Octavia. This infuriated the Roman people, and they even protested the separation. The whole city was really up in arms over it. But Nero saw this as a chance to display power to his subjects.
Okay.
He wanted to show his people that he could do things with or without their consent, so he had Octavia killed. Around this time, the walls began closing in on Nero. The people of Rome had turned on him, and his advisors, well, they had hated him for a long time. So a group of Roman politicians made a plot to assassinate Nero. There's no central idea as to what to do after Nero was dead, but the Roman elite knew Nero was just not good for the empire and had to be eliminated. Before they were able to kill Nero, though, the emperor found out about the conspiracy. Nero immediately executed 20 people for involvement in the plan and exiled another dozen. Up to this point, Nero had been a pretty bad guy, but in the years that followed this conspiracy, the emperor truly went off the rails. Now, this is where the Nero you've heard about becomes real.
I gotta say, if I knew a guy who was an emperor who at the slightest provocation killed his brother, his mother, and his wife, strangled her, and then had her publicly executed, and then I was doing a plot with some friends to kill him, I would keep a secret. I don't know how many fucking loose lips they have on that fucking team, but I would have kept that shit locked down. Who the fuck is talking about that over drinks? Juicy drama flows through Rome. They accidentally added him to the Signal group chat.
Shortly after the executions, Rome experienced the Great Fire. It burned for a total of 6 days, destroying 2/3 of the city. The fable goes that Nero was playing a fiddle while the fire burned. But this is entirely untrue. For one, fiddles hadn't even been invented yet. Secondly, Nero wasn't in the city when the fire was burning. Instead, he was at a countryside estate. When he got word of the fire, Nero returned home immediately. There, he opened his doors to those affected. Anyone who was made homeless by the fire was allowed to stay in the royal palace. The myth of Nero playing music while Rome burned is probably just a metaphor that got taken too literally. See, on one hand, Nero loved the arts and joyfully engaged in theater and music, but he was not above causing massive death and destruction. After Rome burned, Nero began the construction of a new palace. His palace was much larger than the previous one, and right on top of it, Nero included a 120-foot statue of himself. To this day, no one knows how the fire started, but the people of Rome began to think that Nero caused the fire so he could have an excuse to build this new palace.
It is a bad
To combat
look.
these rumors, Nero decided to find a scapegoat for the fire. At the time, the Christians in Rome were basically a small-ish cult. Nero blamed them. He rounded up all of the Christians in the city and tortured them. Some were ripped apart by wild animals.
Jesus.
Others nailed to crosses and decapitated. At night, Nero burned Christians alive using the fire to illuminate his outdoor parties.
Jesus.
Around this time, Nero began having marital problems with his new wife, Poppaea. Eventually, he flew into a fit of rage when Poppaea was heavily pregnant. Nero kicked her to death, aiming
I'm
his
sorry,
blows
wait. You killed a wife for not being pregnant, and you're killing a wife for being pregnant?
intentionally for Poppaea's stomach in a gruesome double murder. It's quite clear that Nero had lost whatever sanity he'd been holding on to. The emperor had his wife's body embalmed and preserved in a glass case so that he could visit her each night and talk to his dead wife.
Jesus Christ.
Shortly thereafter, Nero saw a 13-year-old boy named Sporus walking through town. Nero claimed that Sporus bore a striking resemblance to the now dead Poppaea. The emperor had Sporus kidnapped and castrated. He forced Sporus to wear Poppaea's clothing, basically live as Nero's wife. Nero had Sporus appear in public as his wife, wearing the attire of a Roman empress.
Jesus Christ.
In a probably related decision, Nero began appearing in theatrical productions, wearing a mask of...
I'm sorry, this video opened by saying, hey, Nero's not all bad. Like, the only thing they said he did was he lowered taxes, I guess. Bro, he sounds pretty fucking bad to me.
And playing the role of Poppaea. Nero's new palace and statue were bankrupting Rome, so he asked one of his advisors, Vindex, to raise taxes. That was the last straw for Vindex. He joined forces with the governor of Spain and the royal guard to assassinate Nero.
That was the last straw. Sounded like that was the only straw. Sounded like when he lowered taxes and then killed his wife and everybody and the city on fire. And that was like, I could deal with it. But when he raised taxes, suddenly it was fucking over for you.
Nero lived his life in paranoia and madness and probably knew this assassination was coming. One morning, he woke up to an entirely empty palace. He ran screaming through the halls for help, asking the empty palace if he had not friend nor foe. The mad emperor just wanted someone. Realizing that his death was near, Nero retreated with a small group of slaves to his estate in the countryside. Vindex sent soldiers to kill Nero. When Nero heard that soldiers were en route, he begged his slaves to kill him, but they refused. Nero stabbed himself with a knife, committing suicide as he spoke his final words. "What an artist dies in me." Nero was adored by the common people of Rome for a long time. He did a lot of great things for the Roman everyman, but these people didn't write history books. In the case of Nero, that shows.
Doesn't sound like he did that
All
much
of the
for the
information
common.
about Nero comes from 3 writers: Tacitus, Cassius Dio, and Suetonius. All 3 of these men were political elites who hated Nero and would be considered political opponents of his. They also wrote about Nero decades after he died, and when he died, he was the last of his family's dynasty. It was in these men's best interest to denigrate Nero's character as much as possible. The worse they made his dynasty look, the better the new regime seemed by contrast. Their depictions of Nero fall right in line with a Roman political strategy called vituperatio. This was the idea that you could say anything about a political opponent. There were no boundaries. Nothing was off limits. You could literally just make things up.
We got that today.
That was an accepted part of political discourse. In fact, many of the heinous acts attributed to Nero also seem to be lifted from Roman mythology or other works of fiction. For example, Nero's mother requested that she be stabbed in the stomach where, quote, the monster was nurtured. But this exact thing happened in a fictional play with fictional characters that was written just years prior.
Coincidence.
Many depictions of the Great Fire also seem to be entirely plagiarized from earlier accounts of attacks on other Roman cities. Nero was madly in love with his second wife. What's more, he was desperate for a child. Their first child had just recently died. Doesn't really make sense that he would kill his pregnant wife. And indeed, there's no evidence that says he did, other than the account of his political enemy. Even that is suspect. The murder of a pregnant wife was also a common storytelling trope in Roman literature.
It is going to be funny in 1,000 years when they try to write the history of our times. They're pulling like from fucking tweets that are totally made up. Just fucking ballsack 6139 saying like, today fucking Obama shot 30 babies out of a cannon. And like in 30 years, they're going to read that in a history book. Yes, historians say Obama shot 30 children out of a cannon. JD Vance fucked a couch. Yeah, he's gonna, they're gonna say that. It's gonna be whatever fucking was.
Today, Nero is seen as the embodiment of evil. Some scholars believe that the Antichrist was literally based on Nero himself. But more and more evidence...
JD Vance did not fuck a couch. That's not real. No, it's not. It's not in his book either. They made it up. It's a made up... No, he did not fuck a couch.
Seems to indicate that Nero may have been kind of okay. Not
I guess
that
we
bad,
can never
at the very
know.
least,
We can
far
never
from
know.
the Antichrist. The story of Nero is one of the all-time great examples of controlling the narrative. The people who write history basically shape reality. You see, we'll never know how bad Nero was or wasn't, but it may not even matter at this point, because a couple thousand years later, what's written kind of counts more than what happened.
Powerful stuff. It was artistic. It was good. I liked it. Interesting thought. That was a good video. Definitely different. What I liked about that was that it was different. We watch a lot of YouTube on Get Smarter Saturdays, and that one was different. And I respect when it's different. It's called Horses. Horses on YouTube. I think we've watched one of their videos before, and I didn't like it at all. And I like that one a lot more. So how about that? How about that? Okay. Well, here's the tea, sisters. I think I'm going to play some blueprints. That's what I think I'm going to do. Because this game is really fun.